Yo, yo, yo! It is I, Cade Call, aka Roboclip, the blessed beatmaker and one true prophet of the One True Gaming podcast on Earth. I was an experiencer of mystical spiritual phenomena, and Miyamoto the Father, Kojima the Son, and Carmack, the Holy Ghost, appeared to me in prophetic vision, commanding me to restore the One True Gaming podcast back to Earth, and in doing so, all I needed to do was interview creative and interesting people about their favorite gaming memories growing up. And today, as usual, that is no exception. Previously on the podcast, I have had the Barber Who Games, aka Bill Barber, Will Barber. He goes by both. Dude has an amazing collection, over 3,000 pieces of gaming paraphernalia, history, and knowledge exists in that man's home. He was on the podcast previously, and since then he has started his own podcast with his sister, Alex, called the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. It's really, really good. I would suggest checking out the PlayStation episode. That is both their suggestion, which you'll hear in the podcast, and also because the PlayStation is the greatest console of all time. You should learn more about it because it's the shit. Anyway, they are my creative and interesting guests. Check them out, the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. As usual, I'll put all the applicable links in the podcast description. In other news, my YouTube shit is going to be coming out soon. I finally almost got this logo drama on lock, and that's the last step I had, and I'm going to be opening the floodgates with some of the content I've been creating, some of the deeper, more hardcore. If you're a true retro gaming nerd, I'll be creating some content that is a little bit more meaty than just me talking to people about their favorite gaming. Sea cells, she cells down by the seashore. I can't talk today. I don't even remember where I was at. So I'm doing Sober October. I started a little bit early because I knew at the end of October I was going to have some events. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to do a month sober, basically a month no smoking weed. But I'm going to start about a week early. So that way, because the last week of October with all the stuff going down with Halloween and in-laws and social events, I'm going to probably end up smoking some weed and probably drinking a little bit of booze. So I started a week earlier. I made it about 2 weeks. And my brother-in-law brought over some weed yesterday. He didn't know that I was doing Sober October, and I took a little hit ski, and he had some leftovers, and I took a second little hit ski right before I recorded this. It's called being an addict, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to go another 2 weeks after this, and the point was to take it down a notch, which has been successful. I've learned from growing up in the the self-claimed one true religion is if you focus on perfection and you get hung up on the idea of being perfect and not making mistakes, you're just going to end up depressed and thinking about killing yourself. So I'm not beating myself up too much about cracking because that's the longest I've gone without smoking weed in a hot minute. And if I don't have it around, it's actually been pretty easy. And there's no more left. He left me a little leftover, and it's gone. So now I'm back to having nothing around, nothing to tempt me. And to be honest with you, it's been a little bit nice. My dreams have been crazy, which has been fun. But also, I was going a little too hard in the paint, even for me, a lifelong pothead. I've always never had a problem with staying productive and staying disciplined and succeeding at whatever I was working on at the time. It's never really derailed me. But since I got the Volcano, which is like the creme de la creme, rich, sort of snarky way to smoke marijuana vaporizer, it's been so convenient and so clean that I ended up like smoking even more than I already was, which was probably too much to begin with. So that's my motivation. If you're out there and if something's off balance in your life, handle it. And even if you're not perfect about it, don't sweat it because that's a step forward. It's becoming more balanced. Don't get caught up in being the one true perfect saint of the one true gaming gospel. That did not go where I thought it was going to go. YouTube shit coming down the pipe. Still playing Legend of Dragoon. Trying to get through that, capture some footage. Played a little bit of Scarlet Nexus. It's like anime, Dark Souls-esque action. Pretty dope so far. But really, I'm waiting for Elden Ring. That's all that matters. Let's be real. Nothing is going to matter until Elden Ring comes out. So until then, I'm just making content, poking around old PS1 games, trying some games on PC. Nothing super special that I would say you guys got to go try. Although I hear the Diablo 2 remaster is titties. If you're into Diablo 2, if you like the game, I hear the remaster is awesome. Other than that, the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, Alex and Will. Check them out on all the applicable social medias. They are officially approved by the gaming gods themselves, and I say these things in the name of them, which is Miyamoto the Father, Kojima the Son, and Carmack the Holy Ghost. Amen, and enjoy the show. Welcome back, Will. You were episode, sounds like our memory is correct. You were episode 30. Today we have William Barber, who's the Barber Who Games, who's been on before. And then he started a new podcast after we chatted with Alex Barber. They had the Gaming and Collecting podcast. Since we already know Will pretty well from the first episode, what happened after the episode and how did this podcast start?
So after the podcast, after I did the first episode, like the episode I did with you back in that was still early 2020, I think.
I think so.
It's hard to say, but I kind of got the itch. Like I kind of wanted to do something similar, but in our own style. But I was kind of hesitant because that's just how I am with things.
Yeah.
And Alex was constantly nudging me, you should do it. Start a podcast. You should do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of was. Eventually, one day I was at work and I kind of just thought, you know what? Let's do this. Make a podcast. And Alex jokingly was like, I'll be your co-host. And I was like, sure, let's do that.
Yep.
So then we kind of were figuring out what to call it. And I wanted to be gaming focused, but I also kind of wanted to have a collecting thing because that was what my whole Instagram was around.
Yeah.
So I go to Instagram and I just kind of start making a new profile and I just kind of type in, I'm like, gaming and collecting. Is this a free user name?
Yeah, you wanted to see if it had been taken yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw it was free, so I was kind of okay. So I saved that, and then I immediately was like, I don't know how to make a podcast. I found Anchor, and I was like, okay, just Anchor, we'll do that.
Yep.
So then we got the name saved, because the full name of the podcast is Gaming and Collecting, Looking Back at the Games That Shaped Us. And we wanted the whole theme to be kind of, because me and Alex, we're only a year apart.
Yeah.
I'm 26, she's 25.
Yeah.
So our whole idea was kind of we grew up together, but we weren't the closest as kids, and we kind of grew closer as we got older.
Yeah, definitely when I went off to college, that's when we got a lot closer.
Oh, I just realized you guys are brother and sister.
Yes. Yeah, we're brother and sister.
Barber. I thought you guys were boyfriend and girlfriend.
No. No.
I mean, in some countries that's okay. So
you'd be amazed how often.
Oh yeah,
happens.
no,
because we don't look.
We don't look
alike at all.
We don't. Well, it's funny because Bill looks like our mom and I look like our dad. So when you see us as a family unit, it all makes sense. But when it's just me and him, we get mistaken all the time, and then we both are just ew, no, just grossed out.
Well, she'll laugh it off, and I'll sit there awkwardly no, please no.
I handle it better.
Yeah, but anyways, back to the whole idea was, so when she because she lives in Connecticut now and I'm in Massachusetts.
Yep.
So we're states apart, so it's very rare we actually see each other. And we kind of wanted a way to keep in touch and still keep talking about things. So then we thought, you know what, gaming's pretty much always been a big part of our lives because millennials, that was right in the peak of when it was really starting to take over the world.
Yeah.
So then we did the first episode, we started it the first, I think, weekend of January this year.
I think so.
And we decided we were going to do an episode, a weekly episode thing. And it was kind of we started off and we were trying to be really serious about it. And
we were trying.
we were trying really too hard. So that's why the first few episodes are really kind of awkward.
They're a little
serious.
stiff, I would say. Very.
And then by episode 9, I think we kind of we're you know what? Let's just be kind of crazy here and just be ourselves.
Yeah.
So then that was kind of the point where I figure we kind of found our style.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole running joke that we have now is that we're the Gaming and Collecting podcast where we barely ever talk about gaming, mostly talk about anime, and the collecting's only really implied.
Oh, so the anime lovers, that might be the spot to go check out.
Well, the funny part is our best performing episode at the moment is the one where we just talked about anime.
Yeah.
And that episode was kind of train wreck of just nonsense.
Yeah, it was just me going on a rant about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for 30 minutes.
But it was, we've kind of just found that niche now. We're kind of we'll toss out an idea and we'll spitball it a little bit. And then if we get enough that we can do an episode, we'll record an episode and we'll go from there. And we kind of alternate. Sometimes I'll visit her in Connecticut and we'll record there, or other times we'll go over the internet.
Yep.
And that's basically how it went down for the most part.
I'm looking at your the video game collecting the hunting collecting podcast, gaming collecting podcast. Right, I typed in the gaming and collecting podcast. Oh, there's your Instagram. I'm trying to find a list of your episodes so I can see the title. There it is. All right, Connection V, a return to conventions at Never Stop Thinking, a Sega Dreamcast. So it looks like you guys have some sort of, like you said, an idea or a theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Not all of our episodes are super like specific. Like to me, like the episode where I think we finally found ourselves was episode 9, which was we just kind of did a whole episode talking about like weird PlayStation 1 games we had back in the day, like when we were kids. Because we had a ton of licensed like crap games that were like super bizarre and like ridiculous, and we were like, you know what, I want to talk about those because we played a ton of those, and that was actually that kind of cool episode because it was really nostalgic, honestly.
Is that the talking about? Looks number 9 on your Instagram would be the one where we talk about The Sims.
Oh,
the title.
I think it was the 9th episode because I've done a few like random like joke posts too.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, yeah. Some of these posts are not episodes.
Yeah, because I did
sense.
the logo was a post, and then we've done a couple like joke posts every now and then.
There it is. Weird PS1 games from our childhood.
Yep.
There we
that
go.
that was an interesting topic. We also did like we did one about our early PC gaming memories because we had like these really crappy there was like, so back in the day they had like there was a Barbie and a Hot Wheels PC that you could get for kids, and they were like utter pieces of garbage, but we had them, and we kind of did a whole episode around like all those old like PC games we played back in the day, and that was a cool kind of nostalgia because it's like such a random obscure topic that it's like, you know what, this kind of works.
Yeah, and it was like pretty huge because we played those games for like several years, like especially all those Barbie games, and like he doesn't want to admit it, but we traded games. So I was also playing the Hot Wheels games, and he was also playing some of the Barbie games.
Well, I mean, you're a kid and you just want to play. You just want to play video games.
Yep.
I found so I didn't have a specific memory of these Barbie Hot Wheels computer, but I just YouTubed it, and I do remember these. I remember seeing ads for them, and it was like, you guys actually had these. Yeah,
We did.
The Hot Wheels one is blue. Looks freaking awesome. The whole screen, the speakers, everything is branded. That's cool.
And it came with this the Hot Wheels one came with this really like crappy like steering wheel that barely worked.
Yeah.
LGR Hot Wheels computer restored and working. I wonder how much since you collect, do you know how much these would be worth or how hard they are to get?
You know, I'm not the biggest PC collector anymore. I know the company that made them, I know, went like out of business like
Patriot Computers, this looks like. Yes.
Because they the computers themselves were kind of crappy. Like they were really underpowered, and they were a pain in the ass to like work on because you had to like open them up, and then they had like this like tray thing within a tray, and like the motherboard was kind of like a curve, like weird. It was a really odd like cramped design, and like they were also overly expensive for what they were.
Oh yeah, here's this steering wheel. It looks like there was pedals for it too.
Yeah, they were just basically buttons. They didn't actually have any range of motion.
I remember this Hot Wheel games actually. So I did a episode with Retro Hangover. Shout out to Retro Hangover. We talked about Myst, and I remember like early pre-rendered graphics or backgrounds were mind blowing. And I remember now I'm watching footage of this Hot Wheels game, and it was like the track is actually like a pre-rendered video.
Yeah, Stunt Track Driver.
Stunt Track Driver, yes.
Yep.
It looks actually pretty good still.
It was a really fun game. So it wasn't actually pre-rendered. It was actually a streamed video.
Oh.
And it was basically the car was pre-rendered, and you basically kind of move the mouse left and right, or you could use the steering wheel to do it. It was really awkward, but it was actually a pretty fun, cool idea. And you could like make your own tracks and stuff. And like for like an old PC game, it was for like we couldn't have been more than like 6 or 7 at that time.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, like for the time, that kept you busy like for a long time.
Oh yeah, and like we didn't understand like quality at that point, so like for us it was great. We had no sense of if it was good or not.
Well, I always laugh because my selection of PS1 games back in the day was like Final Fantasy VIII, Crash 3, and then like
Tiny Tank.
No,
Tiny Tank!
Yeah, we had
one's
Tiny
ever
Tank.
seen Tiny Tank before. I love that game. Oh yeah, do the intro when he's like the wisecracking kind of like edgy swears little tank, and they're calling him cute, and he gets pissed and he blows the screen up. I love that game.
Yeah, that's one of probably the most obscure PS1 games that nobody talks about. That's really awesome.
And everyone should.
I did a video on it and it did not do well because nobody cares about that game.
Every time I've posted it 3 times on the Barber Who Games, and every time no one like ever reacts to it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I guess it's pretty rare. It must have not done well. I mean, to me it was a big deal, but
it's not rare, but it's so obscure that like nobody knows about it. I guess there was one other game that studio made too. It was a game called Mort the Chicken.
I never played that, but I've had someone comment like you should do a video on Mort the Chicken, and I looked it up, and I never ran across it as a kid.
So it's an average. It's like
platformer?
An average at best, 3D platformer.
Okay.
It's got that same. So the guy who did the voiceover in Tiny Tank, like the really like dry, like kind of like lower voice, he does the same kind of like voiceover and stuff in Mort the Chicken. Like it's got that very dry kind of.
And what was the studio's name?
And Now Productions, I believe. They only made 2 games.
And Now, you are right. And Now Productions. Oh,
it was
published
founded
by Crave. Okay.
Yep. It was actually founded by the guy who created Echo the Dolphin, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Ed Annunziata, I think is his name. Yeah, I think that's his voice, that voice. Yeah, I think we talked about Tiny Tank once on the podcast.
Yeah,
we?
well, we did in that episode. The PlayStation.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, we talked about Tiny Tank.
I think we've brought it up multiple times.
We have, because it's a great game, and everyone should play it.
Yeah, I have some footage. I've played through like levels 1 through 4, and then I ran that footage through some AI interpolation software to like make it like what would Tiny Tank look like if it could run at 60 frames a second.
Mm-hmm.
I have some really cool footage, and then I tested it, and the video didn't do very well, so I didn't bother to do more videos. But
it's kind of a bummer, like, because it's gamers are, I've noticed lately, are like very specific on like what they're interested in at a given time. Because like you can like I noticed this on Instagram. Like I always try to like post really like obscure and like out there games, and they never any reaction. But you'll get like maybe one person who's like that was their childhood game, and they're like super excited about it. But everyone else just kind of like whatever. But then I just did a Castlevania marathon. Everybody goes nuts about Castlevania because although I was shocked, Lament of Innocence was like the highest performing one, and that's like one of the more like that got over 400 likes in like a day, and I was like, Lament of Innocence, really? Like
that's the PS2 one, right?
That was the first PS2 one.
Yes, I played that one. I did not play the second PS2 one. If I remember correctly, the end of Lament of Innocence is like the genesis of how Dracula came to be. Like that was the twist, right?
That's the first game in the series.
Okay.
Because it explains how the vampire killer whip got made and everything.
Yes. I liked that one. I remember also thinking that the graphics were pretty good. And I mean, obviously some other Castlevanias are more popular in general. But what was the second one on PS2 called?
Curse of Darkness.
Yeah, did you play that one?
Yeah, it's combat's better, level design's worse. I don't think they had a lot of budget from Konami at the time.
That's a running theme.
Well, I've actually, I read a report, and I believe they gave, because it was made by the same team that did all like the Game Boy Advance and DS games, Koji Igarashi's team. I believe what the story is they gave them the same budget that they would have given them for like a handheld game to make a console game.
Oh wow! So
he kind of had to make it work because that's kind of just Konami in a nutshell.
I guess it's a running theme with them to the point now in 2021. I mean, they're a pachinko machine joke at this point. Although they are saying there's leaks that Metal Gear Solid 3 is being remade, Snake Eater.
I heard about that,
and that I just saw a leak today that Kojima's going to make a Silent Hills PS5 exclusive. That could be which could redeem them. Because the marketing for PT I thought was genius. I mean, it's so sad that didn't work out because it's to this day, I'm surprised nobody has tried something similar. It was such a cool way to announce a game.
Kojima kind of did something similar with Death Stranding, but that became its own insane mess of a game that's glorious, but also a total dumpster fire at times.
I wondered about that. It's the only it's not the only one, but the only semi-modern one that even though I like him, and even with the director's cut coming out, I watched footage of it, and I just can't get myself to get it.
No, Death Stranding's a great game, but it is like so it's like the most Kojima game ever made. Like there's like just random like points where I remember I was playing one section of it where I'm just going through like the desert, like the deserted wasteland area. And I all of a sudden just get this like package and I'm like, okay, what's this? So I open it up and it's a bomb. And it's like countdown. I'm like, oh crap, what do I do with this? I'm like running and then I died. It was.
It seems to be that people that like it consider it amazing. And then if you don't like it, it's like you said, a lot of people would describe it as just a waste of time.
Yeah. It's, you have, basically I tell everyone who ever asks, I'm like, do you like Kojima games? If you don't like Kojima games, don't bother. Because it's basically Kojima Unchained. Like, he has no restrictions. He basically got to do whatever he wanted.
What's the game? There's another game with something Unchained that reminded me. Something Astral Unchained? Anyway, it would be cool.
Astral. It's the new, the Platinum Games game.
Platinum Games, yes. It's on the Switch.
Astral Blade, I think, or Astral Chain, something like that.
Anyway.
I don't own it yet. I've been meaning to pick it up. It's just, games are expensive right now.
Yep.
Especially, so Alex, do you collect as well?
So I don't collect video games, but I have started collecting something else. But
well, she's more of a, she plays games. She doesn't collect games. She's more of she's like an anime fan, more kind of into.
So you get like figurines and those type of collectibles?
Yep, I have a whole
that's one of our.
You can see them like right there's some right
I can
there.
See them.
Those are my JoJo's figures right there.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. What's the best anime of all time?
Oh, that's really tough. I would have to.
You only have two that you ever talk about all the time.
Well, they're so different, because like JoJo's is really good, but then One Piece is really good. I binged it all. And I have to say, like, I think a lot of people don't watch it because they see how many episodes and they get intimidated.
Exactly.
But
that's why I haven't watched it.
But I'm telling you, it's so good. It's so good. Like, you just gotta keep watching it, and like, it goes by quick, honestly. So I'd have to say, One Piece is probably just a little bit higher than JoJo's.
Slightly
just
higher
a little
than JoJo?
Bit. Yeah.
I'm actually surprised by both of those. When I ask that question occasionally, generally those two, they're both very famous, but they're generally not in the discussion for greatest anime of all time, especially like online when people talk about it.
When you talk about anything online now, you always get the...
You're just asking for trouble.
Well, yeah. You get the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Army.
Yeah.
Who shows up out of any, and I mean, it's a great anime, but I'm like, they need to chill a little.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always that one. I mean, I'm in that category of like the small percentage who's all like, I love Inuyasha. That's like a fun anime.
Yeah. Well, I will say Full Metal Alchemist it's very good. But personally, I just enjoy shows more like One Piece and JoJo. So my personal favorite is those, but I understand the other ones are also just as great too.
When I was living in Australia in 2006 to 2008, I hung out with a kid who watched One Piece, and there was already like a bunch of episodes then.
Yep.
And it kept going for like, I would check in with him, and he's like, yeah, they still haven't, what is it? He's looking for like an island or a treasure. Like that's the ultimate goal.
Piece.
The One Piece. And I would message him like, has he found the One Piece yet?
No.
He's like, nope.
That's actually one of my favorite memes. It's like Goku became the strongest, Naruto became the Hokage, Ash won the Pokemon Championship, Luffy still isn't the king of pirates or something like that.
Well,
still hasn't found the One Piece.
Well, it's crazy though too, because like they're at episode like 1,000 right now, but there's still so many things that we still don't know. So like I don't know how long it's gonna keep going, but I think it might hit like 2,000 episodes, honestly, because there's still so much we don't know. It's crazy. But I could talk about One Piece forever, so I'm going to stop talking about it.
You probably know, I saw a preview for a One Piece game that may have already come out. It was like open world, and he could like swing and jump. Is that out yet?
I think that's on the Switch. I think we were actually looking at that. We did an episode where we like played a bunch of random Switch games. And I remember finding that. So I haven't bought it yet because games are expensive, but I will buy it and I'll play it eventually.
I think so, because there's actually a ton of One Piece games.
Yeah, I was very surprised, but it actually makes sense. Like they're all like beat 'em up games.
We have like a plan to do like an anime game episode at some point.
Yes.
But that's just such a deep like topic that we need like some serious time to actually.
Oh yeah, we need some planning and
so many, especially if you include everything that's like Japan only.
Oh yeah.
Then it's going to be even crazier.
Yep.
Like, I went out of my way to, one of my collecting goals I did recently was I got every Inuyasha game ever made.
Yeah.
And that led me to realize there is a Japan-only PS1 RPG that never came out in America.
Really? What's it called?
Yeah.
The subtitle? Inuyasha or something?
It's just called Inuyasha.
Inuyasha,
but it's like
PS1 RPG.
Don't mix it up with. There's also the 2D fighter that came out in America.
Check this out.
No, there's a ton of anime games because I remember, like, I was super into Sailor Moon when I was younger, and I would try and watch it on YouTube during that time on YouTube where you could watch anime, where people would upload it. And I just remember sometimes I would get into these rabbit holes and I'd end up seeing like gameplay of like these old like PS1 games. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah, I guess that that Inuyasha game came out before the series even aired in
America.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because it only covers like the first like arc or so.
Go ahead.
I actually I found a way to play imports on my PS1, so I actually got a chance to give it a shot. It's interesting. It's definitely it's an RPG, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm watching just some clips. It's pretty chibi style. Like it reminds me a little bit of Beyond the Beyond, like the field graphics.
But the battles are like they go like first person, and it's like flat like pixel art. It's cool. It's different. I can't understand what's going on because I can't read it, but
I'm the video I'm watching on YouTube is someone's obviously hacked some English subs because it is sub.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the battle system is like what's the other famous series? Dragon Quest, the old school Dragon Quest where you're just first person, and it has the attacks are cool. It's like these anime. Yeah. Nice.
It basically it goes over the first like couple arcs and then I guess wherever they were up to at that point in the show. Yeah, I found that because that has like there's like no like real info on that game at all. I found it just because from a random Wikipedia article, and it was like $20 to like import over. I
think when we chatted, your total collection was around like 22. You had like an app, and it was like 2,200. What is it at right now?
Oh God!
What am I? So I actually I
don't know this either, so I'm really curious.
So I migrated over from the old app I used to use to GameEye, which is like just an easier app. So my current collection now, this also includes digital games, so there's probably a bit of fluctuation there, but right now it's listed at 3,081 games.
Oh my God.
So you've put about 1,000 more in a little over a year since we chatted.
Yeah.
Which means you're buying games every week.
I was.
Yep.
For a time. Although, to be fair, because game collecting has become one of the probably worst hobbies to get into as of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, every collector I've talked to in the last year and a half since I've been doing this complains that it's just getting more and more expensive.
Mm.
And
the last time we talked, I brought up Kodelka.
Oh yes, which I tried. It's awesome, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play it for. I'm doing all like horror videos this month, and I'm going to do some Kodelka videos.
But for Kodelka, when we talked, it was going for around $120. It's almost a $400 now.
Oh God! What?
Yeah, it like shot up. Well, because all of a sudden everyone is talking about it, which I'm not sure if that's partially my fault for being super positive about it.
Oh no!
But the last time I saw a copy at my local game store, the local retro game store I go to, and he was selling it for like 300 and something, and I think it's gone up to over 400. Yeah, let's see, Kodelka on eBay right now. The first one I see, oh dear, yeah, so it's between like 300 to 400 right now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm glad I got that one. I did. I paid $99 for it like 3 years ago.
Alex, so we know I have a pretty good memory. I don't remember everything we chatted with Will because there's just a lot of people's gaming memories in my head. But I'm recalling like most. I'm assuming that some of your memories are going to overlap. But you said you're a year younger than him.
Yes.
And I cannot remember, Will, what your first console was, but my guess hers would be the same since you're only a year apart. So this is not cheating because I can't remember. And I think yours was a handheld.
Yes, mine was a handheld.
Yours was a handheld.
Yep.
It was a Game Boy Color.
I'll give you a hint. It's not the same.
It's not the same. Okay.
No.
Nope.
What year were you born, Alex?
1996.
Ooh, 96. Hold on. Let me Google something. I need to cheat. 94 was the PS1, but I doubt you guys got it like that early.
Well,
Man, I can't. Maybe I know yours was a handheld, but yours is not the same. It's either man, it's hard. You're like right in between. It's either I'm gonna go with the PS1.
Yep.
Nice. I was thinking.
It's on the shelf over there still.
Yep.
Oh, the OG one you guys had?
We had like one that had like a screen attached to it.
Yeah, we had the we didn't have the original PlayStation. We had the PS1, the smaller version.
With the screen, a classic, I think it was called. PS1.
I think it was actually called the PS, and then it was like literally just OUN, like PS1.
It was called PSOONE portable screen.
1 second, I'll grab it.
PS1, yeah. LCD looks like some were calling it. PS1 combo with LCD. Yeah. Dang, dude.
Yep.
That's a relic.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep, that was the first one.
Yep.
Does it still work?
Yep.
Nice.
Still got the screen too.
I'm surprised it still works, but then again, it's quality, good quality stuff.
I have my original PS1, but it doesn't work.
Aww.
But I have it
really?
just as like just doesn't, like when it boots, it just shuts down. Like it'll boot for a second and shut down. And I'm sure there's someone out there that could probably fix it.
So I've actually retired that PS1. Like I only use that rarely. Like if I'm ever like on the go or something, and I want like because it has the screen and I can do that. Because I've actually replaced that one with I have an OG PS1 because I needed the parallel port on the back to use the because I used the Goldfinger to bypass the region lock, which is an incredible pain in the ass to do. By the way, it's not like the Sega Saturn with the Action Replay where it's like you just plug it in and it's like automatically like. It's just region free now.
Yeah.
The Goldfinger, you have to like. So there's a little sensor in the disc bay that you have to like basically jam down. That's the sensor that just lets it know that the door's shut. You jam that down, and then you start the PlayStation up with like a regular like NSTC game.
Oh yeah. You have to swap it. I've heard about this.
You use it till it stops spinning, then you switch it out to the import. But if it doesn't work, you got to try a different game because not every game works with every. It's really convoluted, but it's like the best. It's the best thing that you can do without buying a Japanese PlayStation 1.
Or you could just play it on emulator, but I know that's the dark side. The dark side. And again, we went over this on my podcast. If I wouldn't have sold my whole collection, I would probably not be on the dark side, but I just don't have it in me to try to get my collection back now that everything's so expensive.
Yeah, it's one of these days the bubble's gonna burst, and I kind of fear what that's gonna cause. But
I guess it's a good time to buy it up because I think things go in phases. So if the bubble bursts, maybe in 15 years you'll have a cycle will come back, and then they'll be rare again, and people will want them.
I hang around on the game collecting subreddit every now and then, and those guys are kind of melodramatic sometimes about everything.
Oh boy!
Like every week, there's always like this. It's getting worse every day. It's always so much more expensive, and I'm always like, and everyone. I think people are trying to blame like 2020 and all the stuff that's been going on. But I always comment, I'm like, this was happening before that. Like, yeah, it didn't help, but I mean, this has been going on for years now.
Yeah.
I had a podcast from Canada on called the GameCube is Cool podcast.
Yeah, I follow him.
Okay,
he's a
and
nice
they
guy.
mentioned a similar thing, but they did say that they felt like the lockdowns sort of people needed something to do, so it like interest in retro games spiked a little bit, and it was already getting bad, and so it amplified the process, made it faster.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. Some people like just want to 100% blame it on that. I'm kind of on the side where I'm like, it didn't help, but this has been an ongoing problem for years now.
Yeah.
Especially, I think it's partially has to do with all the social media, like the Instagram bloggers like myself.
Oh yeah.
True. Yeah. That's good. I mean, it's good for you because people are following you and you're growing. But I guess it's a catch-22. The more successful you are, the more expensive the games you want are going to be.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm really glad I got most of them before I started, because honestly, it's becoming a bit too much, especially because I'm in the process of I'm saving money right now because I don't know what my job situation is going to be within a couple of years. So I'm kind of I'm trying to save money right now because I'm thinking about moving down south at some point. So
you're not a barber apparently.
No.
No, that's
No.
During the pandemic.
Well, he did
I got
cut
some
my
people,
hair once, so you know.
We don't need to get into that. That was it.
Yeah, the good old toy car method. Right on the head.
What do you do for work?
Me or her?
You. Yeah, you.
Okay.
Wait.
I'm a we've gone over it a bit. I'm a CNC machine operator. Right
I
now.
knew that. Fuck, I should have remembered that. Machine operator. How come you're not sure about machinists are going to be around forever?
So that's the thing. I'm not worried about getting another job. It's just my current job is.
Okay. Yeah.
We lost a big contract, and our lease is only signed up until the end of next year. So I'm not sure if they're going to keep me on or not, but we'll wait and see. I'm not really worried about it right now.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do, Alex?
So I studied industrial engineering in college, but right now I am working at a mechanical contractor. So I'm doing project management and estimation for some bids and jobs, which is interesting. But
there's some overlap. Machinist and a mechanical engineer. Maybe you guys are brother and sister.
no, yeah.
Did your dad do anything similar to that?
He fixes appliances.
No, he's an appliance repair guy.
I mean, it's a little related, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he's a former printer, and then the printing is unfortunately a dead trade. So
Yeah.
He moved on. He went to school, relearned, and now he's a appliance guy, and that's booming right now.
Yeah, I know. Because, I mean, everything is basically designed to fail at this point in those companies. They don't admit it, but that's...
Oh, so is that something your dad's noticed? Is that because people say that, but then I always wonder.
Oh,
is it,
no, it's very true.
Conscious, we're going to design this to fail in 3 years.
No, I have friends who work in that industry and have told me that they are told, all right, design this. So in a 5-year span, they need to buy a new one.
See, the only exception to that.
That's just how it works.
I see that with all sorts of electronics and appliances.
Oh yeah, phones, TVs, everything.
The only exception I can think of is video game consoles, because gamers get very bitter when their systems die.
Oh yeah,
true.
That's why Microsoft is still, I don't think, has ever truly recovered from the Red Ring of Death.
No. Yeah,
that still haunts them.
Yeah, people still have PTSD.
Not actually,
not real PTSD, I guess, but gamer PTSD.
Yep. Here's a fun behind the scenes of the Gaming and Collecting podcast.
Yep.
We had to cancel 3 episodes we had planned because I had a 360 I brought to her place. Yep. We were going to record episodes using it, and it red ringed.
You got red
ringed right there, and I was like, and it was one of the Slims too. It wasn't even an OG, so I was like. I was so bummed. And
so you had traveled all the way down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But to be fair, that was the same weekend where we filmed the 3DO experience, which I still think is one of the coolest episodes we ever done.
Oh, yeah. That one is probably one of my favorites we've done.
I saw some of your posts on that. I need to listen to that because the 3DO was this. I had a PS1. The 3DO, I'm pretty sure, came out a little prior. I remember seeing it around. And I played this game. You both would probably know off the top of your head. It's like a spaceship game. You start out in a desert and you're flying. What was that game called?
Shockwave?
Shockwave. Yes.
I grab it, but it's stuck behind something right now and I can't reach it.
And I remember that game, Shockwave Assault. Yes.
Oh, that was the sequel. I don't think I actually have the sequel.
Shockwave. No, Shockwave 2 says Beyond the Gate. The Gate.
Oh, maybe it is. I'm not really sure.
Okay, I think, the Saturn version was called Shockwave Assault.
Gotcha.
Maybe that was a port?
Yeah, yes. A lot of, most 3DO games got ported either to PlayStation or Saturn. The most famous, of course, being this fellow right here.
Oh, yes, Gex. Was Gex originally on the 3DO first?
Yes, it was designed for the 3DO, and the 3DO version is actually the best version.
Yep.
What makes, I'm curious, what's better about the 3DO version than the PS1 version?
It plays here's the thing. It's like semantics. It's like comparing a PlayStation 3 and a 360 game. It's like minute little things. This I always say it's probably the best version just because that was the system it was designed for, and that's usually the best. Because when you port from one system to another, it doesn't always come out the same in a lot of ways.
Sometimes timing's off. Like the Sega Saturn version of Castlevania Symphony of Night, when I was playing it, I was like, I can't play this. Even though it's if you were just watching someone play it, you'd be like, what's the difference? It looks exactly the same. I'm like, I don't know. It feels different.
It has more content, too. That's the weird part about it.
It does have more. That's why I got it. I was like, I want to play as Maria. I want to see the the greenhouse area. It's extra. Yep. And I started playing it. And granted, I was playing on a Saturn emulator because everything Saturn related is impossible and expensive.
Yep.
But Saturn emulation is really wonky. So it also might have been that my emulator was not great either.
Well, so Castlevania, I might have mentioned this on the last podcast, but Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So the Saturn was notorious for, it was the 2D machine, but it struggled with 3D. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a weird game because it was actually built from the ground up on a 3D game engine, which is one of the reasons why it was not ported the most gracefully over to the Saturn. Because you'll notice, like in like the first level where you're going up to fight the prologue, you'll notice the clock tower in the background is a 3D model. That's how it's a 3D engine basically.
Yes.
They just put the sprites over the front of it in a 2D fashion. That's how it got all like the 3D effects and stuff.
The parallax and stuff. Yeah.
But because of that, the Saturn version was kind of a hot mess. Even though it's technically a superior game in terms of content. It's weird.
I should have known that Gex was originally because I like Gex. In fact, I played it semi recently, and I was trying to get clips of some of the best one-liners, and a few of them I was like, I can't post this clip because it would be too controversial.
Oh yeah.
Like when he's in Chinatown, some of the shit he says, you're like, whoa, you can't say that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say some of them, but my favorite quote from Gex ever is in Gex 2, Enter the Gecko. This one isn't really controversial unless you're from the place it's talking about, but it's like he's in like an absolute wasteland like shithole, and he just goes, New Jersey. I'm always like, that one's still funny today. But
go ahead.
I was gonna say just some of the references in Gex though are like a kid playing that nowadays is never gonna get this. Another classic is like Gex, where Gex goes on screen. He's like, "Hey, I'm here for the real world interview." It's like, what kid's gonna get that one?
And then I was like, okay, I want to let me find some quotes, and I remember I'm finding it now. Gex Enter the Gecko quotes, and I was going through all these quotes and just being like, wow, some of them are pretty funny. Some of them you're like, you can't say this.
I can't do that anymore.
I can't post that, even though I think it's funny. Maybe I shouldn't post that.
Yeah.
Alex, what's your so I'm curious, your first console was the PS1, which in my opinion, as Will knows, is the greatest console of all time. It's my golden age. So like you could talk about One Piece all day. I can talk about the PS1 literally nonstop for hours and hours and hours. So I'm curious, and yes, I'm going to judge you if you answer these things wrong because I'm very opinionated.
All right, I didn't study for the
PS1.
quiz, so
Good. I want the raw. First off, I want to know, what is the very first video game you ever laid your eyes on, whether it was PS1 or not?
Oh my god! I'm like trying to. I don't know why, but I have like this distinct. Bill doesn't remember it, but we had an NES too. My distinct.
Oh no! I mentioned that we had the hand-me-down NES, but I don't consider that our first because
it wasn't yours, I guess.
Yeah. It was a hand-me-down, and technically we got it after I had the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, but there's this game where there's like this frog game, and you like dissected frogs, and I don't know why.
Blaster Master.
But I have distinct memories of that as like the first game I ever witnessed.
That's a really good game. In fact, the opening sequence to Blaster Master is so confusing.
Yeah.
Because there's a frog for no reason. And it's like, what does this have to do with anything?
There's like a little kid, he's just like doing his homework. A frog jumps out of the thing, goes in the backyard. For some reason, he has a radioactive like shed that has the radioactive signal in his backyard, like his parents are scientists. And then there's just a hole. The frog gets really big from the radioactive thing, jumps down the hole. The kid is like 7, just jumps down the hole too. Who cares? I might die. And then there's a tank with a suit that fits him perfectly waiting for him. Yep. Okay. Sweet.
And then you play the game and it's a side scroller.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you go inside the door, then it becomes a top-down Zelda game.
Yes, very cool idea back in the day. You could have like side scroller and top-down. I never beat it. Did you know if it explains any of that? If you beat it?
We couldn't
never beat it.
We couldn't get past the first level.
No.
Yeah, that game was hard.
I played it recently. I still can't beat it. I can get decently far in it. There was also it got a 3D PlayStation game too.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
Yeah. Blaster Master Blastin' Again.
Oh, God.
It's like 3D and it's not very good. It was also published by Crave. I swear Crave published everything, like the leftovers of like every old franchise back in the day.
Yep.
That actually would be almost a good episode, like find like obscure old publishers that have died and then just talk about all Crave publishing. Let's see what else they did.
They did a lot because they published the N64 versions of Gex.
List of video games published by Crave Entertainment. Oh, there's actually quite a bit.
They were still going into the PS2 era. I believe.
Blaster Master, Blasting Again, Broken Sword 2, another sequel. Dave Mirra, BMX. I remember that game.
I remember Acclaim released that one too because they had the controversial like third one where it was
Triple
like,
X, BMX,
yeah,
XXX.
BMX
Yeah.
Triple X, yeah.
Oh, Crave did Galarians, which is a really obscure PS1 game that I'm going to play for this month because it's like a psychological horror game.
Oh, really?
Like a Resident Evil sci-fi copy. Very obscure. Like it did not sell well at all, but I think it's awesome.
I mean, we're actually for Halloween we're doing a special. We're going to talk about I guess a little like sneak peek for anyone. We're actually going to be talking about RPG Maker horror games, or like kind of like indie horror games, I should say.
What are some of the ones you have? Give us a sneak peek. Do you have the list already sorted, or are you just still kind of the ideas only?
So the ones I know we're definitely going to talk about are Mad Father, Misao, Yume Nikki, Doki Doki Literature Club, because you have to.
Yes. You're contractually obligated to do it. Yes.
Ebe.
Ebe.
The Witch's House,
Yes.
probably some more. I gotta look down the list because
Yeah.
a bunch of them are on Steam now.
Oh yeah, and then there's all those ones that are like there's like the Sandman, there's like it's like a series, like the Crooked Man, there's like the Man
Oh yeah, the
series.
Crooked Man, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Like all these old like are just like horror games from back in the day.
Yeah.
It's a good idea because everyone sort of does horror themes for October, and I actually like it. But I had the same idea, like, okay, I don't want to just cover like the usuals, but as normal, I'm gonna just focus on PS1 horror games because that's all that matters is the PS1.
I mean, I gotta get Alex to play this at some point. I didn't think about it when we did the Dreamcast episode, but my favorite horror game of all time is
Veronica X. Oh no,
Illbleed.
I can't even
Illbleed.
see that. Illbleed.
Sorry, Illbleed.
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of Illbleed?
Oh,
No.
no.
So
I'm scared.
it was made by the guy who made Blue Stinger on the Dreamcast, and it's the most ridiculous, like it's like basically it's a bunch of kids are stuck in this theme park that's like a B movie. It's like B movie like horror.
This looks
And it's-
fucking awesome.
It is. It's amazing, but it's basically like a whole like theme park, and you basically have to survive. But the whole gimmick is like there's traps everywhere, and you got to like find the traps without setting them, or else your panic meter goes up. And if your meter goes too high, then you have a heart attack and die.
Oh god.
It's like it's the most bizarre game ever made, but it's amazing.
It's actually pretty bloody too.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly violent.
It looks like you have senses, sight, hearing, smell, six, and you have to like watch this like pulse that goes through your senses to give you clues of where a trap is, I'm assuming.
And you can like you have to search around and you find them. If you trigger them, then your sense meters go up, and if they go too much in the red zone, then you die and you have to restart. One of the areas has one of my favorite like Easter eggs of all time not an Easter egg, it's a joke of all time is there's a
I was just gonna say, there's something, even though I love the PS1, there's something super nostalgic to me about like the way textures and graphics look on Dreamcast games. That's like, I prefer even more than the PS2 as far as just nostalgia. I might steal this, dude. I might do a video on this game. I might steal your idea. So I'll give you proper credit.
Any more like appreciation for Illbleed. But before we got screwed up there, I was actually going to say one of my favorite little jokes in this game is in one of the level, like the hell level, one of the characters you encounter is a demonic Sonic the Hedgehog called Zonic. Sonic the Hellhog.
Sonic the Hellhog.
And Sega was not
see this.
amused in the slightest.
Let's play Illbleed Part 23, Zodic the Hellhog.
Sega was not amused at all.
I wonder, couldn't you get sued for like defamation of an IP or something like that?
I guess that one's just different enough that like,
my
it can get away with it.
That's horrible.
Well,
I hate it.
technically, it's a parody, and parody technically gets
yes.
away with that.
Yeah, the parody clause. Bro, there's like, not only is it Sonic, at least there's like this chick with her ass hanging out.
Oh yeah, this game you get clothing damage as you go.
Oh,
on.
boy.
My goodness, this looks awesome.
It is the most ridiculous game ever made,
Oh my god.
and it's the only thing that sucks about it is it was very late into the Dreamcast run, and like a lot of Dreamcast games, there wasn't a lot made, so it's really rare.
How much is that worth right now? You know?
So I had to piece my copy together. Right now, Illbleed, last I checked, I paid combined the two versions I had to buy to piece mine together. Cost me about $200 total. God, what is it going for now? Illbleed Dreamcast. Yeah, around 250 to 300.
It's gone up a little bit, but maybe it's so obscure that because
there's a brand new one going for 500.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
The case. Oh, someone's selling the case for about 100.
Jesus,
that's a little ridiculous. Whatever.
Some of these YouTube videos, there's one called Let's Play Illbleed Part 1 from 11 years ago. It's got 166,000 views. That's pretty good for an obscure game.
That might be the guy. There's one guy who did like a full in-depth playthrough of it that's really well known. That might be his.
Super Great Friend?
That's the one.
Yeah, it looks like he's got Silent Hill, lots of horror games. Ah, nice.
Yeah, it's just it's like, because one of my favorite things about the Dreamcast was it had a lot of just really odd and bizarre games released for it that just are like you see that game and you just immediately think Dreamcast.
Yes. My favorite Dreamcast game is the Soul Reaver port, the PS1 port. That's the best way to play.
So I've been collecting actually PS1 ports of like old Dreamcast ports of old PS1 games. Like I just got this copy of Sarge's Heroes on Dreamcast.
Oh, nice. I remember that as well.
It's pretty funny. And they basically, it's like you're playing a PC port of the PS1 game.
Yes. It's the best way to play, because I have a video I'm working on. It's Soul Reaver with like the best emulation on PS1 emulation versus the best Dreamcast emulation, and like which version is better. Spoiler alert, the Dreamcast version's way better.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, speaking of PlayStation emulation, you remember Bleemcast?
I do remember Bleemcast.
Oh,
yep. Metal Gear Solid for Bleemcast is like the definitive way to play the first Metal Gear.
Yep. It was legendary. Alex, we got to get back to you. So what's the first, were you into game? Like, I remember Will, if I remember correctly, being like, you were basically into gaming pretty close from the jump, getting exposed to it. Was that the same way with you, Alex?
I would say probably not as much, but like I kind of got dragged along into it by force because I didn't really have a choice sometimes. It was either watch nothing or watch Bill play video games. So sometimes...
So for the backstory to that is...
Good older brother.
Well, here's the backstory. So we had kind of the basement was our like area where we had all our stuff.
Yep.
And we had one TV, and basically we had a system where we would split between, she would have it was basically in hourly increments, like she'd have an hour, then I'd have an hour, then she'd have an hour. Or sometimes we'd change it up to like multiple hours, depending on what we were doing at the time.
Yep.
But it was always an even split between the time.
Yeah.
So usually I'd be playing video games and she'd be watching whatever she was watching at the time.
Whatever was usually on TV.
Yeah. Because I remember she got the full Final Fantasy VIII experience. That's for sure.
Yep, definitely that.
Or whatever else I was playing at the time.
Basically everything that you were playing. But I did play some. I did play some games though. There's some.
Yeah, like the multiplayer games.
Yeah. She was multiplayer. I was this player too, and I was just causing trouble.
Oh, classic little sibling story. Classic.
Lego Star Wars the video game is my personal hell because we would play co-op and she would just constantly jump off the stage. And in that game you can't move on. In the early Lego games you couldn't move on if your partner was doing it
too far away. Yeah.
So I'd be just stuck there and she'd be jumping off the cliff. And every time, regardless of which character dies, all your collectibles, little studs, you'd lose studs. So regardless of player 1 or 2, so she'd just be draining my studs counter over in the corner, and I'd be like, "Alex, please."
We had so many fights over Lego Star Wars. Oh,
it was so funny.
It was, looking back, it's hilarious, but I remember you getting so angry at times.
Oh, I could see a legit fight happening over that for sure, 100%.
She was the controller thrower.
Yeah.
Like so this PS1, the original controller that came with it is so jacked up it's not even funny.
Thanks.
Because that thing hit the wall so many times.
Thanks for calling me out here. I really appreciate it.
So you're a rage quitter.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, she was.
I admit it. I have road rage. I rage quit in the game. You know, I'm just full of rage, but I don't let it out all the time.
It's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't guess from just your appearance and your demeanor on video that you'd be full of rage, but sometimes those are the ones that are the scariest.
Yeah, he's been in the car with me many a times where my rage comes out.
it sounds like watching initially. So my question would be, when you were just watching, what game stood out to you the most? And then what game did you actually play yourself that you felt like, okay, I'm into gaming now. I actually like gaming myself.
So I definitely remember watching games. I remember watching the Crash Bandicoot series. I remember watching Bill play that all the time. And sometimes I would get to play the Coco levels when they had I think that was in Crash 3. There was like the Coco levels where she's on like it's like the Great Wall of China level. And I remember that distinctively. But I remember you were super into Crash at one point. But I'd say the game series that really got me into gaming probably was Pokemon. Probably Pokemon.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Was it color like red and blue Pokemon or something later?
So I believe my first one was on the Game Boy Advance, Leaf Green.
Yeah, it was Leaf Green. We both had Leaf Green.
That was like the first one I had because I had a Game Boy Color, but I basically just had these.
I don't think you ever did.
No, I did. Yeah.
Did you?
No, I had a pink one. Yeah. No,
I don't remember that.
No, I did.
Okay.
No, because remember that I was telling you before this, there was that Rugrats game on the Game Boy Color. It was that Angelica one. And I remember playing that. But that was the type of games I had. It was just all these licensed games. But definitely Pokemon was my first one. And then once I got a DS, then I was like hooked. I like couldn't stop at that point with Pokemon.
So Pokemon got you into gaming yourself as opposed from just watching your brother play.
Definitely.
But that wasn't a PS1 game. Was there anything on PS1 that you got into actually playing yourself, or did you just mainly watch him play PS1 games?
PS1, I mainly watched him play.
Blasphemy!
If there was co-op, then like maybe I would join him. But for the most part, I mostly watched him play those games.
Alex has always been more of a handheld gamer.
I have been, yeah, definitely.
So you had PS1, then it sounds like you got a Game Boy Color, then an Advanced.
Yep.
What sticks out to you most on the Advanced besides Pokemon? Anything else?
Honestly, I think that was the only game that wasn't a licensed game, to be honest. I don't think I had anything else that wasn't like a horrible licensed game.
Yeah. I think honestly the point where you truly became like into the handhelds like you've always been was the DS.
Yeah, was the DS. Definitely.
What got you on the DS?
Well, Pokemon, but also Animal Crossing. That was the first time I played Animal Crossing.
She would not put Animal Crossing down.
No, I wouldn't. I would play it all the time. I had Wild World, which Wild World is considered one of the it's not one of the best ones to play, but I played it all the time. I had so much fun. And then, like, a sad thing was, like, it was, like, one of the ones where you could play with other people easily. And, like, I didn't know anyone else who played. So I was always just like, I just want someone to visit my town. And now it's so easy.
And I didn't have it, so I couldn't.
No, you didn't have it. So Wildwood was definitely one. And then there was also, like, the Sims games. There was, like, that Sims 2 one where you're, like, in a desert. And there's aliens and like rat people at some point. I remember.
Oh, the Sims 2 for DS.
Yes.
It's you play as a hotel it's like a hotel simulator where you like play as you're the owner of a hotel out in the desert. You basically run the hotel.
But there's
aliens.
aliens.
There's like a little store. The aliens invade every now and then. There's there's a Batman parody in the basement called Ratman.
That's it. Ratman.
It's actually surprisingly fun and well made for what it was.
No, yeah, it was
I've never even
fun.
heard of this version of The Sims.
Oh yeah, no, it was pretty fun. I remember playing that, and it was one of those games that had a real world clock. So
yeah, it did.
So you go.
You could only get to a certain point during the gameplay, and then you'd have to wait till the next day because the time had to pass. But if you messed with the in-game clock, then it was one of those games that did like a punishment thing.
Yep.
And if you did that, it would be an alien invasion, and every area in the game would be like infested with aliens, and you'd have to get rid of them.
I'd do that.
You had me at aliens. I'm gonna have to check some of this footage out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bizarre how much effort they put into the handheld Sims games up to that point. Because the ones on Game Boy Advance and DS were like adventure games for some reason. Like they had like full on story modes, and you'd like follow these like linear like stories and paths, and it was weird. Like it was no port of Life Sim should have been that detailed, had that much effort put into it, honestly.
They really did. The herbs too. I bet you've talked about it before. Well, we've talked about it, but that one was wicked good too.
The Herbs was the weird like city version of The Sims, but that was the DS and Game Boy Advance version was like the sequel to the Sims busting out on Game Boy Advance.
You're right. It's interesting because when I think of Sims, I think of like the traditional ones that are top down. I'm watching footage of this in the camera. It's like, yeah, it almost looks like a 3D adventure game. Not like I wouldn't even if I just saw footage of this without the title, I would not guess it's a Sims game.
No, it really is. It's really not like a Sims game, but I remember playing that a lot.
Well, because we had potato computers that couldn't handle The Sims. So.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, you had Hot Wheels and Barbie
we had
computers.
Hot Wheels and Barbie.
Oh no! Trying to play The Sims 1 on the Hot Wheels computer crashed it.
Yeah,
so.
it didn't work.
I wonder what the actual Hot Wheels computer specs are.
They were significantly underpowered from what I've heard.
Let's see what we have. Let's see if someone on Reddit knows. Oh, there's a cool ad, like a Toys R Us ad.
Is it the ad that has both the Hot Wheels and the Barbie one with all the software like lined up?
The one I'm seeing is just Hot Wheels but it's $8.99. That's $900 back in the day. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons why the company went under, because no one bought them.
Holy cow, $900. Fun fact, these computers sucked donkey balls. The computer came out in 1999 at MRC, and it would cost you $12.77 with inflation today. The worst part, they were manufactured horribly. Patriot made the motherboards poorly, and they failed constantly. Wow. So yeah, your computer would not run The Sims, so you're playing this handheld version.
Yes.
Yep. We didn't get to play the regular Sims until we got our XP computers.
No, we didn't. And then I remember playing a lot of The Sims once we got those computers.
Yeah. See, Alex, I've noticed with Alex, she's very into RPGs, and then like simulation games.
Yeah.
Like, that's her like forte. Like any sort of game, she's been on a binge of Stardew Valley.
I was just gonna ask, if you play Animal Crossing, you have to play Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah,
it's like the same. Yeah,
no.
I have one that you might like because I've never played any of those games, but I've played one game of this style. It's called Spiritfarer. It's kind of new.
Okay.
It's basically Stardew Valley, but you play as this little kid who has died. Spoiler alert, you find out in like the first 5 minutes. You die, but then this spirit comes to you and says, you've been chosen to be the Spiritfarer, which is your job is to find lost souls and help them move on. And so the way you do that is you have this boat that's basically like your farm, and you find different souls, and you have to become their friends and help them accept the way their life is gone and come to terms with everything that happened in their life. And then once they've become ripe enough, like the crops, then you put them through this, they call it the end gate or something, and they move on to the other side. And I cried like every time.
Oh no.
It's like basically Stardew Valley on a boat is what it's
Stardew Valley on a boat.
It looks kind of like it looks like Terraria a little bit too.
I have a strong suspicion you're gonna like it based on what I can tell so far.
It actually it's on Switch too.
It's on Switch. It's also on Games Pass. If you have Games Pass already, you can get it for free, or not free, but it's part of the subscription. I think it's overwhelmingly positive on Steam. It's like people who like Stardew Valley really like this game.
Okay. I'm definitely going to check it out then.
The clips I've seen.
The animation is amazing. It's very like heartwarming and charming. It's like a bittersweet feel-good game. Like you make relationships with people, but then you have to let them go, but they need to be let go. It's like part of the... I'm getting like tingles singing. It's made me emotional. It's an emotional game.
I'll cry. Yeah. I cried during like every episode of like Fruits Baskets, and then Bill watches it and doesn't cry at all.
I'm sorry.
There were scenes where you should have cried. I'm still upset.
I get upset at Persona 4. Okay.
Persona 4. There were some moments in Persona 4.
Like I agree. Yeah. Oh,
that's a game I got Alex to play.
I did,
I was going to ask about RPGs, and Persona 4 would be one that's a good since you like anime and Stardew Valley, I could see Persona 4 being one. Yep. Let's kind of backtrack. So what's the first RPG you got into?
Well, that'd definitely be Pokemon.
Pokemon sorry, I should have known that, I guess, yeah. Besides, no. Pokemon's like its own thing.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like its own ecosystem thing in the corner. But that one was definitely the first one because it was kind of a trend for us. Like every year a new game would come out. So every Christmas it was like, okay, I gotta beat this in Christmas vacation before school starts, and I'd like beat them in like 4 days of playing them nonstop. And it was kind of funny because I was getting into them and Bill was not getting less into them. So,
I was falling off I was starting to fall off the Pokemon train at that point.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was
It's hard to stay into Pokemon, yeah.
No.
Well, it's because I discovered like other like RPGs at the time. Like there's just so many. There's so many of these things.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
many.
No.
I point to where my RPGs aren't, by the way.
That's
Yes.
actually how I noticed you, because you started posting PS1 RPGs on Instagram, and I was like, "Yep, I like this guy already."
Yep.
After Pokemon, what's the first RPG that you remember getting sucked into?
I don't know, honestly. What would you say?
If you want to count it, I mean RuneScape kind of.
Oh yeah, I guess you could say
that's a good one.
RuneScape. Yeah.
That's also a legendary game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got back into it 2021 and I've been addicted to it, so.
Oh.
are you playing I know there's like a RuneScape Classic and a RuneScape newer version, I guess?
There's main RuneScape, which is now referred to as RS3, and then so because of fan complaints, because a lot of people didn't like the changes, they actually relaunched a version of the game from 2007, and it's called RuneScape Old School.
Yep.
And it's the old 2007 game, and they're actually updating that separately, like giving that its own new content separate from RS3. I'd be into that. My only problem is I don't want to restart from the beginning.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I started playing it too. I was actually playing it on my phone because they have a mobile app for it, but I could not get back into my account. So I have lost
you hadn't
that.
played in over like 2 decades, so I think they sweeped your account.
I believe they deleted it, so I could not recover it. So I just went back to Classic right away.
See, my account's been going since like 2007, so I can't restart. So I got used to RS3.
It I've never played that, but the idea of holding on to the closest thing I could relate to is holding on to my PS1 memory cards for like 15 years, because those saves were so precious.
Sacred.
Like my Suikoden 1 and 2 save with all 108 characters was like the altar at my, or like, the main piece of my video game altar. And I still wish I actually still have the memory cards. My PS1 doesn't work. I don't have the games anymore, but I still have my memory cards with my saves.
I think my main memory card for the PS1 I think still has my original Final Fantasy VIII file too, because I never deleted it, even though it's taking up space.
I just replayed 8 all the way through with like all these mods, and I really enjoyed it because I played the PC remastered version. That's the version I modded, and it has some quality of life improvements, and then the mods let you skip some stuff. So I got through the whole thing like in 18 hours, like pretty fast. I loved it because it was a convenient way to play through the game again, but I also felt like the game is much worse than I remember it.
Oh yeah, it hasn't.
It has not aged well.
No.
So I'll say, if I didn't have such overwhelming nostalgia for it, I'd probably I'd agree with the guys. I'd agree with Chris from a Retro Hangover.
Oh yes, yeah.
But I have such massive nostalgia for that damn game that I just can't let it go. I love it too much.
I still love it. And I agree. I have to agree with Chris. Like objectively, like it's not the best game, but I still I conceded. Yes, it's not that great of a Final Fantasy, but I honestly still that 18 hours I was obsessed. Like I blitzed it in like a week and a half.
It still has the best soundtrack in the series. I will never die off that.
Yes, I agree with that. I think most people would agree the soundtrack is one of the strongest at the very least.
It's up there with 9. 9 is phenomenal too. I actually got her to download 9, and I want her to play it at some point.
You should try it.
I will at some point. It's just like, I still gotta water my plants in Stardew Valley.
Those plants, they need the water.
They need
you
to
don't
be
have
watered.
time. You don't have time to save the universe and the crystals. You got to water your plant.
I have like a list. Well, because I have a bunch of games downloaded on my Switch and I just need to play them. But then I still have some DS games that I still need to play. And then I still need to finish Persona 4. So I got a lot on my list. I need to just sit down and not play the same game every single time.
The problem is, the older we get, the less time we have to do anything.
I know.
Yep. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. How far into Persona 4 are you?
I think I'm like really close to the end. Like I think I don't want to give a spoiler. Is it okay to spoil?
Well,
I think you can give a spoiler. I was going to ask you, who do you think the killer is?
Oh, I know who the killer is. I could tell like right away.
She watched the anime.
But yeah, I also watched the anime beforehand because
That's how she got into it.
That's how I got into it. But also like just playing the game, I was just like, this guy seems sketchy. I just thought he was sketchy from the beginning. I am at the part where I'm brain farting on her name right now. Nanako. Brain farting.
The little
The
girl?
little sister. Is it
Nanako.
Okay, I was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, is it Nanako or is it something else? Where she was in the TV. So.
Oh, so you're in heaven now.
Yeah, I'm in heaven now, and I think I stopped because it was
You're
stressing me out because I knew what was
about
going
like
to happen.
you're about 3/4
Yeah.
of the way there.
Yeah.
You're still got. It's a long game. You still got a decent chunk.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You're definitely pretty far.
Yeah.
Since you already know who the killer is, that caught me by surprise. Like, because I actually didn't. I forget the exact stipulations you have to do to get the ending where you find out, but I didn't get it at first. I got, and then I had to read about it and go back and get it. Yeah.
So the most infamous part of Persona 4 is the TV scene where you have the character's name is Namatame. You have him in the room and they all think he did it, but he's claiming he didn't do it. And you have an argument going on and they all want to throw him in the TV and just be done with it. If you throw him in the TV, you get like one of the worst endings.
Yep.
Because Nanako dies and then
I think that's what I did. Yeah.
Now,
no.
But here's the thing, though. That is a 2-tiered event because you can choose to not throw them in the TV. But if you don't, there's another dialogue option where it's like, we still don't have like enough info here. If you don't pick the right option, then the game ends there. Nanako doesn't die, but Teddy is gone forever, and the game just ends there. So it's like it's like a less awful ending, but it's still not great.
It's still not good. Yeah.
And then it's funny because there's still like 3 different possible endings you can get after that point, depending on your choices.
Yeah, you have a great memory, by the way. That is jogging my memory.
He's played it like 50 billion times, so he should know.
I do a yearly playthrough, so
that's your Symphony of the Night. I play Symphony of the Night every year.
Yeah,
that's like my
game. Here's my fun fact. This was the first playthrough I've ever done where I got use Ultimate Persona. I
don't think I ever did that.
It's a pain. You have to like grind personas for like hours to get.
Oh yeah, I did not do that. I remember reading like you have to grind and you got to do like what's it called when you like combine the personas and
Persona Fusion.
Yep. Yes,
it's
and
like
you
need like 12 different personas to fuse together to get his ultimate. It took forever, but once you get it, the game is basically no challenge.
It's just broken. Yeah,
one shot everything. But
I kind of like that because you want to be rewarded for the hard work.
Yeah. It's so satisfying. It's like when I got the trophy on the Vita, I was like, that was so satisfying.
So all right, so you're into Persona 4. You're pretty close. Pokemon. He's been trying to get you to play some any RPGs. I know you have a hard stop in about 20 minutes. So
I could probably go a little bit longer. Just have to be quieter. No.
It's fine. You have kids sleeping or something?
No, I live in an apartment. So we're just it can be. I haven't had a noise complaint, but I've gotten emails about other people who have. So but I think I could go like a little bit longer. If needed.
I won't feel too rushed, but I wanted to. So we'll kind of open it up. Anything you remember from basically the point we're at in your childhood till future, what stands out to you, and what are some of the best memories, whether it's playing with Will, like a time you got in a fight, or like a good memory, a bad memory, like what are some of the strongest memories you have about gaming and what was going on?
Well, I think a lot of my favorite memories too are like I would be playing a game and I would like get stuck. And then I'd go and be like, Bill, I need you to do this for me. And I just remember all those moments are so fun. Like when I was playing Persona 4, I was on like the very first dungeon and I got like this event that happened and I was like, Bill, what does this mean? And it was like the Grim Reaper.
She got the Reaper on her first freaking treasure chest.
Damn.
And I was just like, Bill, what does this mean? And he was like...
And I'm sitting... Well, but here's the funniest part about that. As she's doing that, I'm also playing the game, and I'm actually trying to get the damn Reaper.
Yes. So
I'm
for
like
those who don't know, actually, you probably, because you played it, what is the Reaper? Because a lot of people are going to not know what that means and the chance of getting it.
Yeah.
So the Reaper is it's kind of like a hidden like Easter egg boss that you can find throughout the game. It's actually an evolution of something from Persona 3. In Persona 3, it was a super boss that would go through the halls of like Tartarus, the dungeon from that game. And if you ran into it, it would be like an ultimate fight. In 4, they toned it down a bit to make it less intrusive, because if you ran into it in 3, a lot of times it was not a good thing.
Oh no.
In 4, they changed it to it's a chest item that you can occasionally run into. It's based off of like every chest, like mini chest you check in a dungeon. There's a counter, like you can time it out, but it's so hard to time out right. And but if you just play randomly, there's occasional chance you'll get it. And basically what happens is you'll click on the chest, and Rise or Teddy, depending on who's your navigator at the time, will pop up and basically be like, yeah, don't open this chest.
Yeah.
Just trust us. Don't do it. And basically you can say yes or no. If you say yes, you fight the Reaper, and it's one of the hardest fights in the entire game.
Yep.
But if you beat it, you get the character's ultimate weapon.
Yep.
The main character's open weapon?
So here's the thing. You can run into it multiple times. You get Yu's weapon first. The second time you get Yosuke's weapon. Third time you get Chie's weapon. It's basically you have to fight it like 13 times or whatever to get all the characters. Basically, you have to fight it for every party member to get their ultimate weapon.
I did not do that. I didn't even know that. So yeah. Okay.
It's so rare that it's like...
I don't even have a... I mean, I've seen video of it, but I'm trying to think of me playing it. I'm like, I don't even know if I ever saw the Reaper.
So the funniest part is the first time I ran into it, I was actually doing a very easy mode run, because I was just trying to like figure out all the story cues and stuff.
Yeah.
And in very easy mode, you can't lose.
Yeah.
Like, when you die in battle in very easy mode, it literally goes, do you want to respawn? You hit yes, and it just heals you. It just party heals you, and you keep going.
Yep.
Like, but it doesn't heal the boss. So the boss stays where he was, and it just heals you to full health, and you just keep going.
Yep.
So to fight the Reaper, you just every time it kills you, just restart, keep going.
Yeah.
Power through. But I beat it once on normal mode, and that was like one of the hardest things I've done. One of my favorite things about Persona 4 Golden is the difficulty select screen. The description for very hard mode is literally, do you hate yourself? And I'm just like, oh.
A little, I do. Maybe we should click it.
Yeah.
I've done a very hard mode, and it's very hard. And it's not even like a mainline Shin Megami Tensei hard either. That's the funny part.
What do you think is the hardest, like, optional or ultimate boss in RPGs? One that you've struggled with the most? Because for me, it's Final Fantasy IX, the freaking orb, the alien orb.
Oh,
Osmo or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't beat it until basically I played it later on PC, and I used the boosts and mods to grind really fast before I fought him. But on the PS1, I never beat it.
I'm trying to think, because there's a bunch of them I can think of. Ruby Weapon in 7 is still one. It was challenging. Emerald Weapon was even harder. Those two are still up there. I'm trying to. In Tales of the Abyss, there's a couple super bosses in that are like absurdly hard, especially. But it's not even so much the boss; it's getting to the boss. Because in Tales games, there's a lot of complicated like cues that you have to get at certain points in the game, or else you miss out on things forever.
I'm playing my first Tales games right now. I'm playing Tales of Arise.
I still haven't got Arise.
It's pretty good. I would say it's like a solid 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Like,
I've heard good things.
It's good. It's good. It's not amazing, but it's good.
Okay, because the Tales fandom is very specific about their games.
Everyone told me to try Berseria, and I made it about 10 minutes and was like, I'm not into it.
No, that one's one of the better ones, but it's Tales game. So Arise is kind of different from the other ones. Arise, they made it a lot more beginner, like first timer friendly,
and it's way more action based. Yeah, which is I like.
My favorite one is Abyss, and Abyss is not the easiest one to get into, just mainly because the main character for the first third of the game is like an insufferable like douche.
I think was I talking to you about this on our last podcast, or did we chat online about him being a douche? I
think I mentioned it because I think we compared him to Squall because they're similar in that way.
I do vaguely remember this. Yes,
the difference is Squall doesn't Squall doesn't have a voice, so it's not as
bad.
Luke from Tales of the Abyss is like it's actually a part of his arc in the game, but he starts off the game as he's like the most entitled, like privileged little shit, and he's like everything he does is so like you just want to punch him. It's like, and he's your main player character too, where it doesn't.
There's no way around it. You just have to deal with it. Yeah.
But he gets better after there's a certain event after the end of like the first third of the game where he changes, and his whole arc throughout the game is basically his character development. But that first third is rough, I will say.
Okay. I forgot what I was going to ask you next, Alex. We were talking about RPGs.
We were talking about like some of my most recent like.
Oh yes, some of the best memories you have gaming. Yes.
I guess like another one would be, so we've been like playing a lot of consoles to like make podcasts for, and one of my favorite ones now is that we've discovered that I'm actually pretty good at fighting games for some reason.
Alex is she's surprisingly decent at old fighting games.
For some reason, I don't know, I'm just pretty good at them. So recently I've been getting into those more recently as a game I can play. But I am also the best at a certain game on the 3DO.
On the 3DO. All right, hit. What is it?
It's called Balls.
Oh, that's like the fighting game where they all look like Vector Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
they all make.
And I am great at it for some reason.
She kicked my ass so hard at that game. I was like, this game is
2 seconds.
I'm like, this game is so garbage. Why are you beating me at it? It was so bad.
It's because I'm trash, so I'm great at playing trash.
Now this, I do remember. It looks like Balls is released on the Mega Drive as well. Was it originally and the SNES? Was it a 3DO? What do you?
So the 3DO version is actually the director's cut. It's basically the definitive version, the quote unquote definitive version of the game.
Okay, so it was originally Sega Mega Drive and Super NES, and then 3DO version was the director's cut in '95. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And it's wonderful. I recommend it to everyone. It's great.
It's like it tries to be 3D, but it's like a button masher, and it's like the most uncomfortable game too, because like all the background music is like sex noises.
Yeah, it's just weird noise.
Disturbing.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I remember that's actually one of my favorite moments we've ever had recording the podcast, because it's like I had no words.
Yeah, you were like, I think, didn't we play like 10? We played through all the characters, so all the characters.
Yeah, that was our kind of, that was our fighting thing, because we also played Way of the Warrior.
Yes.
If you ever heard of that one.
That sounds really familiar. Look it up. It's Way of the Warrior.
It was a Naughty Dog. They made it.
That's a 3DO. Oh, it's I did. That's not what I was thinking, but this looks like, it's a Naughty Dog game?
Yep, this was the last game they made before Crash.
Yep.
Naughty Dog's bastard child before they were well known for Uncharted. Oh my goodness gracious.
It is the most hilarious like Mortal Kombat clone ever.
Oh, it's so funny. And isn't the music like isn't the music?
Yeah, the music's all White Zombie.
I don't know if I've ever seen this before. Like ever.
It's great. I recommend it.
Oh my goodness.
They actually did all the recording, like the digitized like character models. They did all of that in Jason Rubin's Naughty Dog co-founder Jason Rubin's apartment. And apparently the story is all his like neighbors thought they were filming some weird porno.
But they got one of the characters as a dude in like a diaper, so
yep.
I guess
Jason Rubin actually plays like 2 of the characters in the game too. It's like one of the.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like an utterly it's so hilarious. Like it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's like,
what are you talking about? It's great. I had a great time because I think I also beat you not every round that one, but I won most of them.
Was there another game that had the yin and yang with blood on it as the logo? Because I think I did see this now that I'm seeing it, but there might have been another game with like the same imagery that I'm getting it mixed up with.
Maybe Samurai Showdown.
No, not Samurai Showdown. Yeah, I think I didn't play this, but I think I did see this cover. I'm looking at the cover art. I think I did see the skull with the yin and the yang and the blood on it.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of there's a game called, I think it's called Streets of Fury? EX? Yes. It's basically like a love letter to all these digitized graphics. And it's a bunch of kids, same thing, like in their apartment building with a green screen, like made this beat 'em up brawler game.
Oh, really?
And it's just like them and their friends dressing up as weird characters and doing weird moves. And then they made this surprisingly good, like arcade brawler. But it's...
Oh, I've seen this. I've seen this before. Yeah.
I have it on Steam. It's actually pretty good.
I gotta check that out.
It's worth playing. I think it's like $5 or something.
Okay.
It's worth playing. Do you guys have PC by chance? Either one of you?
Yes.
Alex was actually playing Mahjong on Steam right before this.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
I might gift you guys something on Steam for being late because I still feel bad about that.
no,
That's just
don't
what I
feel
do.
bad.
Don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it. I'll find something. Try to find something that I think you'll like on Steam that's cheap. I like it. I like giving people games on Steam. It makes me feel good because I love gaming and I like people with the game. Maybe I'll do Spiritfarer. You have a PC you could play Spiritfarer on?
I do.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Way of the Warrior. Okay, so 3DO. When you do this, did you bring the 3DO to her house?
So I lugged the 3DO and like
brought
all the
this
games.
big box.
And we basically, the way we did it was we played, I set it up, I showed her like all the interfaces. Like one of the funniest things was I love the when you put a CD in like a console, sometimes it has like the graphic equalizer interface thing. The 3DOs is hilarious because it's actually the 3DO logo, like with the three squares, and it does like these like wave pattern like movements. We messed around with that for a few minutes, and then basically we just played like we went through a whole bunch of the games. Like I showed her a couple of the single player ones just to like give her an idea of what the 3DO was.
Yep.
And then we played all the multiplayer ones, and then we went and recorded after, and we basically went over the history of the system, and then we kind of talked about each game we played and gave a little rundown of our experience with it. It was one of the funniest moment in that too was like one of the games we played was Shanghai Triple Threat.
Yes.
Which I thought when I bought it was a beat 'em up.
Yep.
But then it turns out it's just Mahjong.
It's just Mahjong.
Triple Threat 3. I've never heard of that either.
Yep.
3DO.
And we just
It
decided
is
to play
Mahjong.
through it.
Yeah, it's just Mahjong.
Mahjong.
But the cover looks like one second here.
Cover.
The cover literally looks like it'd be like some sort of like beat 'em up.
Oh, it does. I could see that. Yeah, it does.
But then it's just Mahjong. It's funny.
Yep.
There's I'm watching this like top 10 3DO games. I think it's Need for Speed on the 3DO was awesome. I do remember seeing this. Do you have that?
I have I got the long box.
Nice.
Did we play that or did we miss that?
I think I showed you Road Rash
Oh,
instead.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, here it is.
There it is.
This was, believe it or not, it was actually the debut of Need for Speed was on the 3DO.
I know these. So many things seems like I'm finding out today actually started on the 3DO.
Well, because the 3DO was founded by Trip Hawkins, the founder of EA.
I did not know that either. Educate us.
Okay. Yeah. So he, towards the end of his time as the CEO of EA, Trip Hawkins would leave because his whole idea behind the 3DO was he wanted to create like a video game standard, kind of like how like VHS at the time or like DVD, Blu-ray, something that would be like the standard video game format across everything. Like everything would be like the same thing. The problem with video games is everything changes within a couple of years, so it's impossible to have a standard format.
Yep.
His whole idea was basically 3DO would design the specs for the system, but they wouldn't actually make the system. They'd license out the specs to multiple different companies to make the actual hardware.
That makes so much sense because I've wondered like why I would see different 3DOs that seem to be different I was like, how did that work? Now that makes sense. Okay.
The three companies that made 3DOs were Panasonic, Gold Star, and Sanyo. The Sanyo one only came out in Japan though. There was a couple other companies that licensed it, but they never actually made one. There was also this like one company made like a PC like expansion card that you could plug into your PC and play 3DO on PC too.
Wait, what?
It's an ultra rare. It's like a PC. It was like a PC card you stuck in the side of
3DO expansion pack. Looks like YouTube wants to auto LGR Oddware Creative 3DO Blaster.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Wow, but you're bringing out all the obscure shit.
Yeah, but the whole idea was basically the companies would make it, and then they would charge like a licensing fee. And 3DO's idea was they weren't going to make money off the console, they would make money off the games because they had like ridiculously low licensing fees for games, so like anyone could make a 3DO game. The problem is though, Panasonic and like Gold Star, they weren't gonna make any money off of this way, so they had to sell the 3DO for the reason why it was $700 at launch was because that was the only way Panasonic was gonna make their money back. What's funny is the Panasonic version is the definitive version because the Gold Star version is significantly cheaper and it has horrendous build quality from what I've heard. Like they have, out of all the 3DOs, the ones that I've heard that have had the worst like hardware failure records are the Gold Stars. I have the original, the FZ1 model Panasonic, because Panasonic later made a second model which had a top-loading mechanism rather than a front-loading mechanism. And that one is cheaper, but it's not as high quality. Because the 3DO didn't even have a memory manager, because it has built-in, like, it's like the Saturn has a built-in memory, but...
Oh, there was no memory cards on that 3DO?
No, it was all built in.
Okay. Yeah.
There was expansion slots for add-ons, but I don't think they were ever released.
So then they might have had plans, but it never got to that point.
Yeah. It's funny, though, because the original 3DO doesn't actually have any way to access the memory. You had to buy, like, a separate memory managing CD, or certain games, like Alone in the Dark actually had its own memory manager that you could access via the game. They revised that for the second model, and the second model actually had a built-in memory manager. It was just a weird, like, quirk for the time.
It looks like they have a 3DO emulator. So the last time I tried to emulate 3DO was the emulator called FreeDO, and it was not very good.
No, 3DO emulation is pretty bad from what I've heard.
It looks like there's a new RetroArch has a API, which RetroArch's pretty good, and there's another one called 4DO that has good reviews. Because I'm watching some of these games, and especially this Need for Speed, I think, and Shockwave. I think I need to try these, but obviously getting a 3DO is going to be rough.
Yeah.
I got capture lucky. Footage when you play, or do you guys capture footage, or do you just kind of play and chat about it?
We play and chat. Yeah. We haven't really we haven't thought about.
Maybe like in the future.
That capture card.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to get a capture card at some point. I don't have problem is my location right now isn't going to work for that at the moment.
Yeah.
You have such a solid collection that, like, I like messing around with emulators and kind of seeing like how you can spit shine old games, but there is a certain quality to guys that go to the way to like get the capture card and the composite switches all set up correctly and capture like the native signal in the best way. And there is a certain, like, when I see those posts, I'm like, man, that's pretty badass, but it's so much more work than just popping it up on your computer and opening OBS and hitting record. It's so much more streamlined. But I think, like, especially for me, like, what stands out to me about your podcast and your collecting page is like you just have all this old stuff. You obviously know so much obscure knowledge that I think an awesome like companion piece of content would be capturing some of this footage. But you are right. That's a lot of technical kind of jerry rigging to figure out, because every console you're probably gonna have different adapters depending on the capture card. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I've been hesitant. Is like, do I really want, like, am I committed to really? Because again, I think we talked about it last time. Saturn. I'm like, Saturn emulation is so bad. Maybe I'm just gonna buy a Saturn. But then I'm like, if I play Saturn, when I play video games now, as you were saying, as you get older, you have less time. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to play a game, I want to play one that I can record so I can at least double dip and get some content out of it. I'm still working or something. And I thought of like, if I buy a Saturn and I start playing Saturn, then I have to get a cap, because what's the point if I'm not going to be able to capture the footage? Mm-hmm. So I started researching like how to capture native Saturn footage. And I got like 15 minutes into it. Nah, this is too much work. It's not going to happen. So I agree that it's a big pain in the ass, but I still think you should do it because you're not lazy and I am.
I don't have the space. That's my problem, because I'm not in a great location right now. That's why if I ever do move, it's something I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Because I was contemplating streaming at some point.
You could do a really good YouTube channel too and talk about games and like cool information.
I have the channel. It's been dead for so many years.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I had to dumpster burn like most of the content that was on it.
Yeah.
Because no one needs to be subjected to that.
Yeah, no one needs to see old videos of us running around in our backyard.
Yeah.
There's I haven't got these guys on the podcast. I've asked them like 3 times and they just say, yeah, like I don't know what their deal is because they're like, your podcast is awesome. We're just not ready for it. I'm like, is that a way to like nicely say I don't like your podcast? I don't know. But they're called This Round's on Me. And it's just like two dudes that drink and play old school games together. And I think what they do is they're just recording their TV with a camera. But they they have it framed like pretty good. And then they take the footage and they put it in like a mock TV screen for like the actual video. So it kind of looks like it's supposed to look, but then they also record themselves with a separate camera, like just talking shit and whatever. And then they edit that together into clips. I could see like if you drove down there and brought your 3DO again, that you could probably, one weekend session, you could turn into like months worth of content. Yeah. Obviously video editing and scrubbing it all is a lot of work too. But I would be interested in that because where else are you going to see like someone playing a 3DO?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to see it.
No, true.
I mean, especially one of my favorite parts about the podcast we did was explaining how the multiplayer works on that thing.
Oh, yeah. Because it's like...
The 3DO only has one controller port.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So the idea was it had the one controller port, and the second player port was in the player one controller's controller.
Daisy chained.
So you daisy chained.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
And the cords are stupidly long. So you just daisy chain, and you could do up to like 8 controllers.
Yep.
What I find is insane is somehow the 3DO is providing enough power to go through each controller up to 8.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true because that's like a lot of juice from.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't look like a USB. What is that? Is it?
It's
got
kind
pins.
of like
It looks like a VGA almost. 3DO controller port. I see pictures of it, but I can't find like what like that standard port is called.
It's kind of like the
9-pin controller port is a GND.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's very much like the
oh yeah, I see it.
It's like the Genesis port kind of.
Okay.
Also, fun fact, the two companies also didn't have standardized controllers. So these things are significantly different looking.
Oh yeah.
Like the Gold Star one is huge, and then the Panasonic one is tiny.
Wasn't I playing on I was using the Gold Star one, right?
Yeah, well, they're the same thing. Other than the Gold Star one feels kind of cheap.
Yeah, it gave me the cheap feeling one. How
but
rude.
This one has a head. So the original 3DO controller, this controller is from an FC10, because the FC10 removed the headphone jack that was built into the controller. Because the Gold Star one still has it. So I think this is actually an FC10 controller, and I just kind of got one mixed together.
Whoops.
Okay, yeah, I see. I'm looking this up because your camera's kind of dark. Now I'm looking it up on the line. I see it, yeah. I'm also seeing pictures I never saw a picture of the second Panasonic version with the top loader.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen the original one. And the second one is like it looks like a completely different console. It's like very different looking.
Yeah. But it's identical. It's actually technically better because it has that built-in memory manager. There's just something eye-catching about the original one.
The original does look better to me.
It looks like a VCR.
Yes,
the Gold Star one for sure looks like a VCR.
Actually, funniest thing about my I've noticed on the blog is anytime I post the 3DO, like just the 3DO console itself, people go nuts over it for some reason. Like it's the most like obscure console I own, and people are always like, "What is that?" Like, I love that thing. It looks like a VCR.
You know what I need to do? I need to get you and Chris just talking about obscure retro shit. I don't even have to say anything. I'll just get you two on a podcast, sit back, and let you guys start going off because he's also a treasure trove of like obscure stuff. He brings up shit sometimes. I'm like, what? Yeah. How?
Yeah.
Because I was saying like 3DO is probably like one of the most obscure consoles I was even aware of, let alone own. And he starts bringing up like alternate versions of the ColecoVision or like just weird stuff. Yeah.
The Apple Pippin.
The Apple Pippin. Yes. I didn't even know that was a thing. The other one that someone brought up recently was the Genesis or the Nomad.
Oh, the Nomad.
You have a Nomad? Of course you have a Nomad. God damn it.
It's in a box right now, and I really don't feel like grabbing it.
But I didn't even I literally had a Game Gear. I had Genesis, a 32X, a Sega CD. I was the kid that had all the Sega shit. That's what I spent all my money on. Had a job, freaking doing a paper route, and it all went towards Sega shit. And I didn't know the Nomad existed until like 4 months ago.
It's really cool. My problem with the Nomad is if you buy one, you have to screen mod it because the original screens are terrible. I got one that has like a brand new LCD screen in it, so it's like 10 times better.
Nice. I've seen Mike's Arcade Upgrade. Have you run across him on Instagram?
I think I've seen him a few times. He
basically mods handhelds and arcade.
Oh, okay.
And that's what he does, and he's always posting like Nomad and Game Gear screen replacements. So I've seen that on his. I've never seen what it actually looks like in person, but the before and after pictures he shows, it looks like the LCD screen is like way more bright.
Oh,
colors are more
clear.
vivid, crystal clear. Yeah.
It drains the battery 3 times faster, but you're not playing you're not using batteries on the Nomad.
But apparently you could plug the Nomad in and into your TV like the original, like the Switch way back.
Yeah,
in the day.
The Nomad was literally the Switch before the Switch.
Sega, that's like the story of their life. They're just too ahead of their time all the time.
Yep.
So I've always been like, Sega was ahead of their time, but always shot themselves in the foot.
Yep.
Nintendo came up with all the ideas, but they always mismanaged them. And Sony just copied everything Nintendo did, but did it better.
Yep.
So that's a good, succinct sort of, I'm having a brain fart. Not estimation, but summary of the video game industry. Yeah.
In a sense. Because literally, like, Nintendo creates the analog stick and the memory card. Not memory card. Rumble in controllers, and Sony just comes out with like this. Oh, we got 2 of them. They're better, and the Rumble's built in. It's like,
yep,
great.
That's a great idea. Nintendo would be a shame if someone stole it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Sony still probably holds that grudge against Nintendo from considering the entire reason PlayStation exists is because of Nintendo
backs that. Yeah, kind of.
Yep.
There's a really good podcast. Well, I don't know if the whole podcast is good, but there's a podcast called Business Wars, and they have a sub-series called Sony versus Nintendo, and they get into go deep in the weeds on how that whole thing went down. I didn't know that Nintendo was originally paying Sony to manufacture sound chips for the Super Nintendo.
Yep, that's why the Super Nintendo sound chip is so awesome.
Yeah, and that's sort of how the relationship started, and then I forget the guy's name, Kaz Hirai. He had been wanting to build...
Ken Kutaragi.
Ken Kutaragi, yeah. He'd been like wanting to make the PlayStation forever, and everyone thought he was crazy. And it's a great, like you, obviously it sounds like you're very well versed in that, but for me, it was a really quick and easy, it was like 4 episodes, an hour each, like 4 hours to get a whole data download of the whole story. Really, really good. I want to get to Alex because we're already at her time. So usually at the end, I start asking, I have a good idea of kind of where you're at gaming. First off, I know you're still playing Stardew Valley as far as like current games.
Yep.
Is there anything else you're playing right now besides Stardew Valley and Persona?
Well, I've been playing Animal Crossing. I jumped back into that. I haven't played it in a while, and I actually checked my town today and was just like, oh no,
Are you playing the Switch one?
Yeah, I was playing the Switch one. And then I've been playing South Park. The Fractured. No, it's
Fractured Butthole or
Fractured Butthole. I've been playing that.
That's a good RPG.
No, it's pretty fun. I got stuck though recently, and Bill had to help me. I've been playing that, and then what else was I playing? Oh, I think I restarted Mario Odyssey. I just started replaying that because that was we did a podcast about it, and then I was like, oh, I really want to replay this, so I just started replaying that. That's what kind of happens while we record. So basically, whatever we talked about is what I start playing again. Because
I mean, to be fair though, I think one of our best episodes we've done recently was the one where we just talked about the Windows game folder.
Oh yeah, that was pretty fun too.
Windows game holder? I don't follow.
So you know, in Windows, from 95 on, there was always the games folder with Hearts, Solitaire, Minesweeper.
Yep.
Yes.
We did a whole podcast just talking about that, and it was actually surprisingly really well done.
Purple
That
place.
is a good idea because almost every kid who even had access to a friend's computer knows those games.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Or a school computer too. Because sometimes they weren't blocked, so you could play on school computer.
There was one I didn't have Macs growing up, but all my friends that had Macs had this space pinball game that was on all the Macs.
3D Space Pinball.
Yes.
Space Cadet. That was on Windows too, I believe.
It was?
Yeah, because that was on XP. Because that was computer lab every day.
Yep.
Oh, then my memory is just I had a friend had a Mac. I assumed it was on Mac. I don't remember it being on my school computer. It could just be my school didn't have it. Oh yeah, it is. Here's how to bring back Space Cadet 3D Pinball back to Windows. Okay, nice. All right, Alex. At the end of my episodes, I ask more hard questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
And what video game has made you cry the most?
Oh, cry the most. Trying to think.
Since you mentioned you cry, I figured that'd be a good one to start with.
Well, I'm like trying to think if it's more cry from sadness or cry from frustration. Like that's what I'm trying.
Both are equally enjoyable for me.
That's what I'm trying to think. This is really hard. These are hard questions. Oh, I'm not prepared.
I don't want you to be prepared. That's the point.
Oh God, I'm so panicked right now. Well,
don't worry. I edit all the pauses out, so you can take your time.
You know what it was? So Pokemon, on the Nintendo DS, it was Pokemon Black and White. And the final boss, it kind of tricked you, and there was another final boss. And I had gone through, and I guess I just wasn't, my team was not set up to like beat the final boss. I had set my team up to defeat the guy who I thought I was going to be fighting and be done. So I think I had to fight that boss like 50 times, and I think I cried over it because I was so frustrated because I was so thrown off. And then eventually I just like I quit, and then not quit, but I just like I took a step back and I was like, okay, gotta fix my team. So I fixed my team, and then I was able to do it. But I remember getting real mad over that, and I almost didn't finish it.
That's a good one. That's almost, I was thinking, like, even though it's frustrating, that's part of the joy of RPGs is like failing and then thinking, okay, now that I know a little bit, like, how do I change my gear and my accessories and my buffs so that I can actually beat this boss and use the tactics of the, because like, one thing I don't like in RPGs is getting the difficulty for an RPG balanced is, I think, probably really hard. I've never developed a game, but I guess very hard. Because if it's just like everyone's a cakewalk, it's not fun. But if it's too difficult, but you have to have this, like, you got to lose a couple times, but that it also should be clear of what do I need to do to change to beat this? Do I need to go get this weapon? Do I need to go get this accessory or change my party, change my skills, whatever? So I get that. Is Pokemon Black and White? You said? Yeah,
it was Black and White. I would say Black and White was probably one of like the last Pokemon games where like it wasn't as much of a give me kind of game. Like some of the other ones now are a little too easy. So I think it was one of the final ones that was like actually you had to be strategic and actually RPG.
Was it Gestus?
Yes, it was his N's father. And I didn't realize I was going to be fighting him, and my team was not set up to fight him. So I basically had no type advantages. I had nothing going for me. So we were pretty equally matched at the time. So I was just like, shit. But at the time, I also like I didn't know as much. Like, this is kind of one of those games that actually got me started into actually like, okay, I actually need to be really strategic. I can't just like ride the way through it and hope I'm just too overpowered. So it was one of those games where it actually made me be strategic too.
Yeah, how many Pokemon are there now? Because I don't recognize a single Pokemon in this clip.
We got to be up to at least like 800 and something now.
800?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there's 8 generations, and they add at least 100 every generation. So it's got to be.
I didn't realize it had gotten that. It's been a long way because I only played Red and Blue, and then I fell off the bandwagon. I'm a little bit older than you guys, or a lot older, old man.
No.
I don't recognize. Like, I'm watching this clip of Getsis and N.
Yeah.
And I do not recognize a single Pokemon.
No, I think.
Well, that was actually a key thing about Black and White was they wanted to have all original Pokemon, none from the past.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that would make sense. I did not know that. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So let me think. It's a good one for you. Who's the best villain?
Oh, the best villain.
People always ask the opposite, like, who's your favorite video game character? I want to know who the best villain. What video game character have you hated the most and just wanted to get your hands on and wreck?
Well, I was like interpreting it as my favorite one. at first, but I'd have to. If
You can do both. Who's your favorite villain, and which villain did you hate the most? Legitimately hate.
My favorite would have to be Dr. Eggman from Sonic.
He's pretty good.
He's just like so stupid looking.
The big fat dude with the stash.
But also because of Sonic 06's design, it just makes me laugh every time I see it because it's so horrifying.
Yeah, they tried to make Eggman look realistic. Oh,
Sonic 2006 Eggman. I don't know if I know what he looks like in that. Oh my god, I've never.
Yeah, it's.
Was this on the Wii U?
No, it was PlayStation 3 and 360.
Yeah.
I don't even. What's it called? It's just Sonic 2006.
Yeah.
So it's just called Sonic the Hedgehog, but the fans refer to it as Sonic 06.
Sonic 06?
Is this the one where he had a love interest that's like a human?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I did know a little bit about this, but I've never played it.
It makes
It's
you
the worst
question.
Sonic game ever made.
I think me and Bill summed it up in the We did a podcast on
We did
Sonic.
a two-part podcast on Sonic.
And one of the key points of that game was like, is it creepier that she kissed an animal or kissed a dead animal?
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe. Like Sonic and Tails look good; they look like regular Sonic. But Eggman,
Yeah.
I don't even know what is going on here.
They tried to make him look realistic like the rest of the human characters in the game, but it was a bad choice.
Well, that's a good one. All right, which villain did you legitimately hate? Like villain that really got under your skin?
Well, you know what? It would probably have to be the Justice guy from Black and White
Okay,
because
yeah.
I really struggled and like he also just kind of sucked too. Like his character. Well, because the whole like that game's plot was actually that game actually had really interesting plot. So
Give me the synopsis because I don't know anything about it.
So in that Pokemon game, so the Team Rocket of that game was called Team Plasma. And like, but their mindset was like they weren't just stealing Pokemon. Their mindset was like liberating Pokemon from human and having Pokemon just be Pokemon and human just be human. Like having people not like train them to fight. So it's actually really interesting because you were like, oh yeah, it's kind of like, you kind of relate it to real life, I guess you could say. So they were interesting, but then he comes along and he's just like, nah, I'm just Team Rocket and I'm just here to be evil for no reason and I don't care about any of that. So I was just like, yeah, he just wanted to revive the Pokemon, like the legendaries. That was it. So,
Okay.
But it was
Actually,
interesting. It's a good
Be a good question for you, Will, since you played so many RPGs. What villain have you legitimately hated? Not like a villain you legitimately did not like.
Legitimately hated. That's a tough one because there's a lot. I mean, Persona 5, the main. He's not really.
I haven't played it, so don't spoil it. I do plan on playing it.
Oh.
Then I'll leave that one beside.
Have you played the Battle Royale or the Strikers?
I haven't. I still haven't had a chance to play
I'm wondering if that's good. And I'm wondering, do you know if the story of Strikers is like a continuation of 5?
Yeah, it takes place after 5, but it doesn't put Royal into account.
Oh, so Royal came out later.
Royal is basically like Golden. It's the same game, but it's better.
But did Strikers come out in between Standard and Royal?
They came out around the same time. I think the problem is Strikers had it came out in Japan way earlier than it did in America.
Okay.
Kind of thing. Because I think they were developed like in tandem together, and because of that, I think they didn't really put any of the Royal stuff into account.
Okay, well, Persona 5 villain you don't like, but don't tell me why.
Yeah, I'll leave
Or
that.
don't spoil anything, I guess.
Let me look at my PS.
See, it's kind of a hard question because there's a lot of villains that like you actually like, like there's a lot
Well,
that
yeah,
you're
they're sympathetic sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the question is like, maybe the better way to phrase it would be which villain was portrayed the best? Like, because there are villains that you like you legitimately like them, even though they're the bad guy. And then there's villains that are good villains, like you really want to stop them, even if you're sympathetic, but they're good villain. Like a great classic one that everyone talks about is Kefka, Final Fantasy 6 or 3 in America.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's crazy, he's evil, and he actually succeeds in destroying the world 3/4 of the game. Like that's that's one where it's like I'm not saying I like Kefka, but I was also really motivated to beat his ass by the time I finally got there.
Okay, so I got a good one. I didn't hate the character, but Tales of the Abyss. The main villain of the game is a character named Van, who at the start of the game is actually, so spoilers, I guess, for anyone who's like wants to play that game. But at the beginning of the game, he's like your mentor, teacher. As you go through the game, he is kind of a sketch like the first half of the game. And then he actually causes the big moment that leads to Luke's change in character.
Personality change. Yeah.
Yeah. Where he basically destroys an entire town and like kills everybody there for the sake of destroying the world, because the town where he was from was destroyed by the kingdoms from that world, and he's basically wants to just basically kill everybody out of response. And so you're chasing him throughout the entire game, and at one point you think you killed him, and he falls into the core of the planet, and then he basically fuses with the god of that planet, and you have to face him in this like god form at the end. And at the whole time, it's like you realize his motives. He's evil, but at the same time, you kind of understand why, because he was wrong, so now he wants to take it out on the rest of the world, kind of thing.
That sounds good. I like the idea of falling into the earth. You think you killed him, but he actually became more strong, and now you gotta. Maybe it's classic RPG God form. You have to fight him in the God form.
It's actually kind of interesting because after you think you've defeated him, the game actually goes on for a bit because you got to clean up the mess that was left behind and like solve a bunch of other things.
So it's not like immediate.
Yeah, it's like you don't think he's. Well, I mean, you kind of think he's going to come back at some point because obviously the villain. But the same time, it's kind of like you wonder, is like, is he really gone? Is he not? And you're basically cleaning a bunch of stuff up, and then he just comes back, and you're like, oh, okay. now we know what's going on here.
So Tales of the Abyss, Vaughn. All right. Alex, what game have you been super amped for, and then what was the most disappointing game that you were hyped for that you got and you were let down?
Oh, I was so excited for when they announced that there was going to be an Animal Crossing game for the Wii U, and then it was Amiibo Festival, which is just a Mario Party game, but there's no games. It's just yeah. So it's like a Mario Party game. It's like a board game, basically. But there's no, like, mini games or anything. Well, I think there is video games, but they're not actually part of the board game. It's, like, outside of the board game. But it was basically just a way to sell Animal Crossing amiibos. But, like, everyone was so hyped and stuff because they, like, before they released, like, the game, they released, like, this, like, open world thing. I forget what it was, but, like, it basically showed
I'm watching this 2015 trailer. I think I can tell what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was so sad. Like, because they like released like this little, I forget what it was called, but it basically showed all the 3D models. It was basically showing off all the 3D models of all the Animal Crossing characters. So everyone was like, oh my God, Animal Crossing for the Wii U. Let's go. And then we got that. And it was real sad. So
well, if Chris from Retro Hangover, since we've mentioned him like 4 times already, is listening to this, he thinks the Wii U is the greatest console of all time. Eat shit, Chris. The Animal Crossing on Wii U sucks.
It
did. He probably didn't like our podcast talking about the Wii U.
Oh no, he probably did. Don't listen to that episode.
Which game were you the opposite? Which game surprised you the most that was good that you didn't have high expectations for and you ended up loving? And then I'm going to ask Will the same 2 questions after.
That's tough because I gotta think a little bit. I gotta think back to all the games that I have because I'm like really well, because a lot of the games that I liked, I was super hyped for. Well, I guess like kind of Stardew Valley, but not really because I didn't really know what it was, so I didn't really have any expectations for it, and I really liked it. But a lot of the games that I was really hyped for actually were really good. So I don't know off the top of my head.
Stardew Valley makes sense because you've talked about it a lot. You obviously love it.
Yeah,
and it did come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it had a hype cycle. It just sort of was a sleeper hit on Steam, then eventually got ported to everything.
Yeah. Well, and it was also like I remember like me and Bill were just like we went to like Target or something and we like were just going through like the video game section and there was like the Stardew Valley. It was like a card one where you could download it. And Bill was like, "Oh, you might like that game." And I was like, "All right, I'll just get it. Like, why not? Maybe it's good, maybe it's not." And then
she was straight up addicted.
And now it's taking over her life.
And now I can't stop. Yeah.
All right, Will, what about you? Most disappointing and best surprise awesome game.
So disappointing is I have it's a toss up between two games. I want to say the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I'm going to
shots fired.
I'm going to hold on that now because it's not finished.
Okay.
True. That's actually a good point. It's a good point.
So my actual, what I'm going to say is Last of Us Part 2.
I don't know if we can be friends, dude.
Oh, no.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore. We're going to have a whole episode arguing about Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, no.
Okay.
But jokes aside, I mean, I'm only half joking because I love that game. What is disappointing about it? I'm curious.
So I love the story of the first one, like, so much because it has such a great, like, it's not a positive story, but at the same time, I love the relationship between Joel and Ellie. So I'll say Last of Us Part 2, phenomenal game, like in terms of actual gameplay.
Technically, no one really disagrees. It's a bad game, technically.
Like, I had fun while I was playing it, but the story made me miserable.
That's a good point. So I would say this, Last of Us 2, I think, is a masterpiece, but it depends on how you define masterpiece. Yeah. And the way I defined it usually is a game that can make you feel things. Nothing has made me feel more than Last of Us. The only problem is it made me feel all negative emotions.
That was my thing.
Yeah.
So, the first Last of Us, I couldn't stop playing it. Like, I finished it in I think 3 sittings. Like, I wanted to know what happened. Like, from the opening cutscene where Joel's daughter dies, and it's like, you're like, shit, this is one of those games.
Yes. Yes.
It's like I couldn't stop because I wanted to know where this goes. Part 2, I got to the scene in the beginning, and I was like,
the scene.
I was like, I don't know if I want to play this. Like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm like, it's making me physically upset to play. And I had to like push through I still haven't finished it. Like, I'm like,
dude, you got to finish it. You have to finish it.
I'll get there. I get so far, and then I'm like, I'm getting too like negative emotions. I need to stop for a bit because
that's a fair point because the game, it does wrap it up at the end, and I don't want to. I wish we could talk about the ending because I'll just say this: when the game ended,
we should do a follow up.
Yes, let's do a follow up, and I would love to do an episode just on that game. Well, I'll say this: the ending made me think and feel different for weeks afterward. Like I was kind of like. And I will say this, I'm not going to say the game is going to make you feel good if you keep playing it. No. The game really has no feel-good emotions until the final moments.
Okay.
That's it's like 20 hours of building up to like finally something.
So I will say, when I saw all the like controversy and complaints about the game when I was watching it, and after playing it, I was reading the complaints. I'm like, that's what you're upset about?
Yes. I did have the same, because I actually read the leaked script early because I don't have self-control. Luckily, the leaked script was, I don't know if it was like a preliminary version. The scene in the beginning I knew about that, but some of the details were different. And some of the other details later in the game were different. So I was kind of emotionally prepared for that beginning's plot twist. I'm being very careful because you should play this game if you haven't played it. I don't want to spoil it. So I think part of the reason I liked it is I had already gone through the anger of that twist before the game had come out.
Gotcha.
And I was like, this is going to happen. And I also consoled myself like, okay, I got to trust Naughty Dog. There's going to be a way where they're going to make this okay. They wouldn't do that unless, even though I had read the whole script, it was like, once I started playing and right when that scene happens, there were a few things immediately that were different than what I read in the script. So immediately it was like, okay, well, maybe this is going to be, so I still had this, like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I was already prepared for like the biggest gut wrenching part in the beginning. And then essentially when you start playing as the other character, and I realized they're going to make me sympathetic with this character. And I don't want, like, I know
that's my problem because I can't stand the other character.
And I was like, I don't want to be because this character did some shit I really don't like. and I know you guys are going to try to make me sympathize with this character, and fuck you, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of the game, I did. Even though I was like kicking and screaming, I don't want to do this. And there's a really, really emotional moment at the end where I don't want to. Basically, they kind of wrap up and they call back to that first plot twist which you've experienced. And I have 2 daughters, and because that relationship is a father-daughter relationship, I got really, really emotional at the end when they kind of tied it all together. So I would say the game was not fun. I will agree. But the gameplay was fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
yes,
it was fun to play, but my God, did it make you miserable?
Yes, it was just heavy. It was like no let up. There's no let up. The game is just heavy, 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 heavy themes. You know, the cycle of violence. Violence begets more violence. Everybody has a reason why it's just like more and more just tragedy and violence.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't help
heartache.
too that the game that Naughty Dog made right before that, Uncharted 4, is like one of my favorite games of all time.
And also the opposite in tone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was so, I'm going to finish it someday. I need to be in the mood, because it's like,
Yes.
that's not a game you play when you're not in a good place.
If you were going to say I don't like it for some of the reasons I had heard all the controversy, like this game is nothing but like woke left culture and the video games are this and there's a trans person in it. I had heard all this shit, like, okay, I start playing it like when am I going to get to this heavy-handed political stuff, and it just never happened.
No, I didn't listen. I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. But I saw all the complaints, and like after I played it, I was like, "You're upset about that?" Like I was more annoyed about.
There's a few fans of the podcast that I talk with, and I've said this to them directly, so they should know. There's some people I've talked to that I interact with a lot that won't play it because of political reasons, and I get really furious at them, like respectfully furious. I mean, I'm still friends with them. I was scared you were going to say that, but I'm glad you didn't say that, because it's like you should not play a game just because you think it has some sort of political agenda, when in reality, when you play it, there is no political agenda. It's just for some reason the outrage culture decide to like try to make money off clicks when it came to that game for a short period of time. I don't know how it all happened.
It's the world now.
Just the world.
See, my rule on the blog is I don't do politics. I won't touch it.
Yeah.
Won't go anywhere. I don't like politics in general, but I won't let it ruin my life. That's how I see it.
That's a good attitude.
If I actually like took that into account and wouldn't play something because of stuff like that, I wouldn't be allowed to like anything.
True.
So
that's a good point.
Why I just don't. I don't care. That's not what I was mad about. I'm like,
good.
Yeah.
And honestly, the reason you don't like it, I can't disagree. The game is just an emotionally draining game.
Oh yeah,
it drains you. Like I felt emotionally, even though the ending had this kind of touching aspect. Touching is the best way to say it generally. There were some touching aspects of the ending. For weeks after, I was just like walking around, looking at people in society and being like, society is just this construct, and the only thing between me and violence like Last of Us is just this like unwritten agreement that we have law and order, and like this could all, it made me almost like scared about life too, which isn't necessarily a good thing either. So I can't disagree with you there. Yeah, I can't, but you should play it and we should talk about it.
I'm going to finish it. I just need A, the time, and B, I got to be in the right place mentally for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that game, that was a wild ride.
Have you played it, Alex?
I haven't played it, but I'm laughing at him because he keeps yelling at me to watch the rest of Fruits Baskets. And my excuse is that exact thing. I need to be in the right state of mind to watch it. Also, that whole time you're having that conversation, I've been trying not to laugh because my cat jumped up on the counter and was just staring at me the whole time. So if you saw me get up, it was me trying to get her off the counter, failing, and then like just staring straight into me the whole time. So I was trying my best not to laugh.
They're interesting animals. My dad has always said, dogs have owners, cats have staff.
Yes, it's very true. She was so good. Like, she was sleeping for most of it, and then, like, the last, like, 30 minutes, she, like, got up, and I was like, oh, be quiet. And then she just jumps on the counter. It's just, like, staring. I'm just like, please stop. So weird.
All right, we're at 2.5 hours, and I promised myself I would not do 3 hours. So
Okay.
to wrap it up, let's what anime should I be watching? That's what I want to wrap it up. Let's do like 10 minutes of anime and then promo your podcast again and wrap it up.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Well, cool sneak peek, because the next episode we're recording, not releasing, but the next one we're recording is we're doing anime part 2.
Sweet.
So
Let's do some sneak peek, because I'm going to say this. I love anime, but I'm very picky. Like the anime I love, and then there's a lot of aspects of anime, and I don't know what the right terminology is, and maybe you guys could help me, because I know there's certain like semantics within the anime community, but I don't like certain types of like Japanese humor, especially when it comes to like flirting and girls and relationships and sexuality. It gets like really, I just don't get it. It's really awkward.
So you're not into like the fan servicey anime?
No, and I don't like when the animes go from like cool badass action and then the comedic relief is like weird animation and they have like droplets coming out of their head and the animation goes from really cool to like bad, and it's part of their humor.
Yeah.
So just as a preface, if it has a lot of that in it, I can't handle it.
Okay, so I would avoid any harem animes. If you see harem anywhere,
those are just
avoid those. I don't really watch those either, but some people do.
I've never even heard
I'd
of it.
avoid
Harem?
so it's basically like one guy, a bunch of girls. So if you don't like that, you're not gonna like. And then I'd avoid shoujo, because that's more But it kind of depends, like, because Fruits Baskets is really good, but it's considered a shoujo, so it just depends.
Fruit Baskets is like its own thing, because it's it's the most deceptive anime you'll ever watch, because from a glance, it looks like some weird, like, slice of life happiness.
This looks like some weird schoolgirl romance stuff.
It's not.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay,
so...
But you were saying... You had to be in the right mood to do
because it's depressing.
Is it like dark?
It's very depressing. Yeah.
Bring the darkness. Yeah. I want the darkness.
So if you want to be depressed, watch Fruits Baskets. It's very good.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I guess like a good intro one right now. It's also very current. Are you a fan of like the superheroes, like Marvel movies or anything like that?
Yes, and I've watched season 1 of My Hero.
Okay, I was gonna say that, because that's super popular.
People love My Hero. I watched the first season, maybe parts of. Is it season 2 or the end of season 1 where they're in like the stadium and they get attacked for real?
Okay,
is that season 1 or 2?
So that's season 1. So that's the ending. It was like the USJ.
Oh, season 2 is the tournament.
Yeah, season 2 is the tournament, and then there's
That's where I stopped, like maybe 3 episodes into the tournament.
I'd recommend keep going. I think it gets better. Like season 3 and season 4, I think are especially pretty good.
Where does the movie fit into the timeline of seasons?
So I believe there's 3 movies.
Okay. What are the 3 movies?
I believe the first movie is at the end of season 3, or it might be season 2. I'm not completely sure. It's in between there. And then the second one, I think it's like after season 4. But I also don't know. I've only seen the first movie. I haven't seen the second or third. I don't think the third one is even out yet, but that's in theater. So if you want to go to a movie theater, then that's coming out. But I'd recommend giving it another shot. I think it's pretty good. I guess like another one that's like kind of similar to that, but it's more comedy based. Like it's basically a parody. One Punch Man.
Oh, I love One Punch Man.
Okay.
But I did not watch season 2. I heard some mixed reviews about season 2.
I think season 2 is good. I just think like season 2 is like a not filler, but it's like a build up to something bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like
it's a setup.
It's a setup to like the next season will be really great because this is going to be this really big fight. But in between, you got to get all this background information. So I liked it. I thought it was good, but I also went into the mindset of like, this is building up to something bigger.
They had that same studio has another one, which I've only watched the first season, is Mob Psycho 100 or something.
I love Mob Psycho.
I really liked Mob Psycho. The animation was outrageously awesome.
I recommend watching season 2. I actually thought season 2 was
better?
slightly better. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was really good. But I
Where
love
do you guys
Mob
watch
Psycho.
anime at? Like, is it Crunchyroll? You guys doing Crunchyroll?
So I have Funimation, and then I also use Crunchyroll. But then Bill has there's also
I have my wall of Blu-rays.
yeah, Bill has Blu-rays, but you can find a lot on Hulu and also even
Hulu's
Netflix.
probably one of the best.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you like sport? Do you like sports?
No.
Well,
Really, I like sci-fi, robots, and darkness and gore.
Well,
Okay.
I was gonna say there's this one that I wasn't really a sports fan, but I got super into this show, and it was about volleyball, and
Oh, Jesus Christ.
it's about volleyball, but it's so good.
What's it called?
It's called Haikyuu, and I learned so much about volleyball. There's some seasons that are just like one match of volleyball, and it's really it's so entertaining. I recommend.
I thought you were going to talk about, there's a boxing one people have been talking about
Oh,
too.
There's an
heard-
anime for every sport. It's so funny.
Boxing one is good. I haven't watched it yet, but that's good. I'm trying to think of ones that are more darker.
Like one of the craziest animes that I liked was Elfen Lied.
Oh, okay.
That is about as dark and violent as I've ever seen. It was
That
actually,
one
to be
is
honest,
very dark.
Elfen Lied was a little much. Like there's a few episodes where I was like, "Oof,
Oh,
this is getting pretty heavy."
I think I have one that you'll like. You should check out Shiki.
How do I spell it?
Shiki.
Shiki anime.
So I'll give you like the basic summary is that it's taken place in this very small remote town, and basically it's a family of vampires comes in, and they basically want to turn the town into a town of vampires. So it's kind of like a mystery.
I'm
And
into
people
it
are
already.
going. It's very good. There's some gory scenes, but the story is very interesting. It's very good. I really like that one. Let's see, what's another one? Future Diary is also kind of dark, but it's very psychological. It wasn't my favorite. I think it has pretty mixed reviews, but if you're into dark, that one's pretty cool. They're basically forced into this game where they have to like kill each other, and it's kind of like a battle royale to die, which that one's pretty interesting.
Do you guys know off the top of your head, like the original Japanese battle royale movie? I watched it in like junior high. I forget what it's called. Because everyone's talking about Squid Games right now, and I'm like, isn't this just that same Japanese movie I watched in junior high? I think it was called Battle Royale, maybe?
There is, I think, an anime called Battle Royale.
Movie. It is 2000. Yep, it is. It's actually called Battle Royale. Yeah, I forgot that. Dang, I think that's like the OG Battle Royale premise.
I think the Hunger Games ripped it off. Honestly,
I was gonna say Hunger Games is like the American version of Battle Royale. Yeah.
No.
What about you? Do you go by Will or Bill? By the way, I've been calling you Will, and she calls you Bill.
I've always been Bill, but it doesn't. I go whatever.
Okay. What do you recommend, Bill? What have you been watching?
So here's the fun fact. She's into like dark shit. I'm into slice of life because of course. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think because like my favorites are like I'm a big Inuyasha fan. That's probably my all-time favorite. I mean, I've seen all like the classics. Like I've seen Dragon Ball, every Dragon Ball. My friend got me to watch Naruto. Some classics though, like Yu Yu Hakusho is a really good one.
What is that?
Yu Yu Hakusho.
How do I spell that?
YU, and then HA.
Okay, I got it.
Yep.
I got it. Yu Yu Hakusho.
It's really old. It's like from like the late 80s, early 90s.
About a kid who gets hit by a car attempting to save a child's life.
Yeah, and he gets like he basically becomes kind of like an agent. Like he gets like these like psyche powers, kind of.
Ah.
It's kind of like Dragon Ball, but more like with like demons and stuff.
Okay, I like demons.
Did you?
That one's pretty good.
Bill, did you ever watch Death Parade? Did you ever watch that after I recommended it?
I have the Blu-ray. I haven't got to it yet.
Oh, you should
Did you
watch
say
it.
Death or Death Parade?
Death Parade.
Death Parade.
That one's really good. It's
That
basic.
sounds awesome.
It's basically the whole plot is basically it's what happens after you die. So it basically takes place in this world that decides, like, if you die with someone else, it decides, like, if you're going to heaven or hell. And you actually they play, like, games and stuff, but it gets really psychological as you follow the main. It's very good.
This sounds awesome.
Death Parade's really good. And it has an intro that does not match the rest of the show at all, but it's great.
Whenever someone dies, they are sent to mysterious bars run by bartenders serving as arbiters. They must compete in death games with their souls on the line, the results of which reveal what secrets led them to the situation. Nice.
That one and that one's only 12 or 13 episodes, so it's quick too. So
I could do that. Yeah, I could commit to that. All right. That gives you good anime. I'm going to try the Death Parade. And you kept bringing up Inuyasha, and I've seen that around for a long time. And I know it's a classic.
It's kind of goofy nowadays.
It's still I will say that the dub is pretty goofy nowadays. I rewatched it recently.
I love the dub.
It gets better though. It gets better as you go.
All right, we got to wrap it up and hit my goal under 3 hours, which basically we're not going to do. Surprise! But you know what? We're having fun. Every time I say I'm only going to go 2 hours and we go 3, it's because the conversation was good. So
exactly.
It just is what it is. Give us a spiel again on your podcast, where you can find it, where they can find you guys on Instagram. I'll put all these links in the description, obviously, as well.
Okay. So we're the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. You can find us on pretty much all the major podcasting platforms, although the most common are Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're also on Twitter and Instagram.
Have you guys gotten on the talk yet?
Maybe if Alex wants to make one.
The TikTok?
I've made one personal TikTok myself. And it got actually 1,000 views, and I got scared, so I never did it again.
Dude, if you want to promote, all I'm saying is I have been putting the same content up for a year on both Instagram and TikTok. My TikTok is at 20,000 followers. My Instagram is 650.
Wow.
So if you want to grow, and I think that I have seen collectors start popping up. Now, obviously the algorithm is learning that I like gaming shit, and it's showing me more gaming shit over time. I'll warn you right now, if you get on TikTok, the first thing you're going to see is girls dancing for the first 3 weeks. That's just the way it is.
See, I've been on it, so mine has conformed to just all these random
Alex is just nothing but
chaos.
Alex is nothing but
chaos.
dank memes.
It's just chaos. And then I send them to Bill. One of my favorite ones I saw recently was this girl, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just feeding the fish," and she's throwing it's just a bunch of raccoons that are going after the food.
I haven't seen that one.
It brought me so much joy because
she sends these to me when I'm at work, and I'll be in a machine doing a setup or something, and I'll be like, "Alex, I don't have time for this right now."
And I'll be like, yes you do. It's a bunch of raccoons.
Yeah, TikTok is dangerous because basically China's going to spy on everything in your life, and they're going to figure out what you like.
Yep.
And the algorithm, and there's been times where I sit down in between tasks, maybe I'm waiting for a video to render on my computer. I got 6 minutes before this video renders, and I'll get on TikTok, and then all of a sudden I'll look up and it's been 45 minutes. I'm like, oh my God.
It's so bad.
It's too good.
Bad.
It's too good.
It's good, but bad.
It's bad. Yeah. I'm trying to I want to use it to promote, but I'm personally cutting the time that I use it recreationally down. I just get in, post your video, don't look at anything else, and get out.
Run away. Run as fast as you can.
But yeah, okay. So you're not on the TikTok, but you are on Instagram and Twitter. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
So we're trying to get an episode out every week, and then you could find me on the Barber Who Games. I post 4 posts a day most days, and I try to.
You post the gnarly, one of the best collections. I know I've said this already a bunch of times, but your collection is fucking badass.
I'm starting to get into I'm running out of stuff to post though, so now I'm starting to kind of go back and redo old posts. Yeah, so you can find me there, the Barber Who Games. Easy enough to find. And then Alex she's on Instagram, but she doesn't really use it.
I recently used it again. If you really want to follow me, it's alex.c.barber on Instagram. And I don't know, if you want to see some cosplays when there's convention, I post those sometimes. Or
what do you cosplay as?
Mostly anime characters. Last time for Kineticon, I did Polnareff from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but I've done Misty from Pokemon, Futaba Sakura from Persona 5. Oh, me and Bill did androids.
Oh yeah, we did Android 17 and 18.
Yep, we did
That's
Android 17. That one was really fun. trying
You're
to
a red
think.
blood cell.
Oh yeah,
That
I was
a
a
good one.
red blood cell from Cells at Work. If you want to ever watch like a show that's like educational but also anime, I recommend that. Yeah, and I'm planning more in the future, so if you want to see
Have
those.
you guys ever run across the Side Project podcast?
I think they might actually follow us.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
they do cosplays. Like they started out as a gaming podcast. They've evolved into just like a general kind of nerd weeb anime.
Mhm.
That's basically what we are at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, honestly.
But they highlight cosplayers every week. So they're awesome. They're like a comedy podcast that's around nerd stuff. They talk a lot about like comic books and Marvel, but they do talk about anime too. You guys should link up because I don't know a ton about cosplay other than every once in a while I'll see a costume. I'm just like, holy shit. Like cosplay is just getting, every year they take it to like crazier levels. But I know they're way into cosplay and you guys could probably definitely geek out on cosplay together. They might be a good fit.
Yeah.
Definitely check them out. They probably do follow you. They're really cool guys. Shout out to Captain Juicebox and Chazzy. I was trying to say their real names, but Captain Juicebox is one of my favorite nicknames of all time. I'm jealous. That's not my nickname. I want Captain Juicebox. But yeah, so I didn't even know you guys cosplay. I didn't even know you. I don't think I've seen a picture of you, Bill, cosplaying either.
I think I posted recently. I did the Naruto Leaf Shinobi cosplay like a few weeks
Let
ago.
me check. Yeah. On your collecting, not your podcast, but on Barber Who Games, right?
Yeah, it was on Barber Who Games.
Oh yeah, but it's also, we actually just today posted our convention podcast. So our cosplays are in the thumbnail on that too.
Let's see here.
Yeah, it's a little ways back.
I want to see it. Oh yeah, there it is. Naruto. Damn, dude, that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, it was. I think I spent like $100 on everything.
That looks pretty good. How tall are you?
I'm like 5'8" or 9, something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look. I'm 5'7". I'm short. I'm like, you look, based on this railing, you look a little taller than me. That makes me jealous. Yeah, he looks. I forget this character's name, but I played a Naruto fighting game, and this guy with the green jacket, I always picked him because I thought he looked the coolest.
I was just going for a generic Leaf Shinobi, but I kind of, because I had to have the mask, I ended up kind of looking like Kakashi.
Yeah.
Oh, his name's Kakashi. Okay, I must have missed that one. I had no idea you cosplayed.
Because I threw that one out actually while we were at the convention, so it was at a weird hour.
Sweet. All right, so you cosplay too. We'll put your Instagram in there, Alex. Anywhere else? Anything else you guys do I didn't know about?
No, that's about it for now.
No, yeah.
Maybe in the future.
No.
Sweet. And then you might do YouTube. You have a YouTube channel, but it's dead currently.
Yeah, the Barber Who Games YouTube channel exists, but it hasn't been updated. The last time it was updated, I wasn't even going under the Barber Who Games, so it's
Maybe
been
in
a
the
while.
future.
So it
All
might
right,
be
but
a future
basically
thing.
podcasts, Instagram, Twitter, cosplay. Those are like the four.
Yep.
Yep.
Sweet. And then I actually collect anime and collectibles, which
Yes.
I could get into. I'm just about to spend. I think it's called. I'm going to ask if this is. As you're a good person to ask, because I'm about to drop some money on some mech collectibles.
Oh,
I love
okay.
like mechs,
Mhm.
and I don't know anything about this company or this site. I just saw an ad for it, and I thought the mechs looked really cool. They're kind of expensive. Have you heard of Kika Store?
Kika Store. That does sound familiar, but my recommendation when it comes to figures is that find it in person.
Oh, okay.
Because
He's pulling out a mech. Of course, he's gonna have some badass mech.
well, it's just
I'm moving my controllers.
Oh,
out of the way.
okay.
I still have the 3DO controllers here.
because sometimes like I've heard the nightmare. Sometimes like people will post the pictures and then like it will be like a completely like it's a figure but it's a knockoff. I've heard that can happen. I prefer picking it up in person.
In person, okay.
Just because like you can look at it, you can take it out of the box, see the quality and everything. And especially a lot with mechs, like you build them like piece by piece, and you glue them together. A lot of the mech figures that I've seen. So, and a lot of the times too, they also recommend like there's levels to it. So it's good to get like someone's opinion on it.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yes.
I just saw them and thought they looked really awesome. They were gonna just come like this. I didn't even think that I would
No,
have to
a
build
lot
it.
of the times with the mechs, you actually have to build and glue them together. So,
Oh no!
so,
I'm too lazy for that.
so they have ones that are easier to build than others, but a lot of the times you have to build them yourself. There is some that you can buy as just a figure, but you have to. I would research, or I would just like buy one in person. I always feel better when it comes to stuff like that. Or if you bought it like directly, like I would buy a figure from like Crunchyroll because I'd feel good about that. But on eBay, I feel like could be anything. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about maybe having to build it. I should check that. Yeah. Sweet, really good advice. Well, you guys are, dude.
Yes.
Again, sorry for being late.
It's fine, man.
It's all good. Don't worry.
This was great as always. I need to get you guys, both of you, linked up with Retro Hangover. I think we could have we'll figure something out, and we'll definitely do a Last of Us. I'm starting to think about maybe, especially when I have guests on repeated. It's like I can't ask someone about their games growing up 3 times in a row. So if we have when we have you on again, we should do it whenever you finish. In fact, I'll start pinging you like once a month. Have you played Last of Us 2 yet? Have you played Last of Us 2 yet? And then we can have you back on when you guys backed on, and then you should play at least watch it or something.
Okay, I'll watch a playthrough.
Tomorrow I will boot up the PS5 and I will get it downloaded.
You have a PS5?
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
How hard was it? Did you have to use a bot to get it online, or how did you get it?
My mother is insane, and I don't know how she did it.
She bought
Props
it.
to mom.
She bought it a lot more expensive.
I told her literally, I said, don't overspend. And I don't, she won't tell me how much she spent.
She overspent.
My brother
I know.
My brother just bought one Facebook Marketplace where he got like a couple games, a controller, and like some of the peripheral, and he did the math. If he would have bought all that stuff, he ended up only paying, which is kind of a lot, but he paid $125 more for the actual PS5 than retail, which isn't terrible. I've seen way worse.
Yeah.
So it is possible, I think, to get them for less than 200 over, but yeah, it's hard.
Nah, well, because I'm a pain in the ass for Christmas. So
yes, you are.
She was like, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know, PS5 if you can get it, but I'm like, don't overpay, don't overpay.
Damn, what have you been playing on it?
Mostly, I've been using it as a glorified PS4, but Ratchet and Clank Ripped Apart was phenomenal.
Demon's Souls remake
was great. Most of them are technically PS4 games.
The PS5 version of Ghost of Tsushima is the best way to play that game.
I have to get that still.
It's so good.
I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, the PS4 version on it, and it still looks even better, honestly.
Well, that's what I mean. The PS4 version on PS5 with like the backwards compatibility upgrades, you get like solid 4K 60 FPS.
Yeah, it looks
but apparently
phenomenal.
the new version with the DLC is like better optimized for PS5.
Yeah.
I think.
Actually, one thing on PS5 that looks phenomenal is the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection.
Oh, how is that on PS5?
Oh, it looks amazing. Like everything's so vibrant and it runs at a smooth 60. It's great.
I'm a frame rate whore. Like I played Spider-Man Miles Morales on my friend got a PS5 and he got a brand new OLED 4K screen, and I have 2 like really beefy PCs. I got 2 3090s, like the top of the line graphics card, and I was playing his PS5 on his OLED screen on the 4K 60 mode, and I'm like, this is just as good as PC gaming. I mean, I don't want to admit it because I'm a PC master race asshole, but I have to. I was like, damn, this is there. I mean,
it's impressive how far they've come, and I love the interface. It's got a cool interface. Like, I just think we're at the point now where we're just waiting for more games.
Basically, yeah. The haptic feedback is also awesome on the PS5 controller. I thought it was a gimmick until I played Astro's Playroom, and it was like skating around. The part that blew my mind is you're like skating on ice, and I'm thinking like, how the hell did they make it actually feel like ice in your hands? Like, I was thinking like, did they go and use some sort of instrument like with like a needle, almost like I'm imagining like a vinyl player, a record player. Did they like run it across the ice and like map the vibrations? And then how do you even do that? I don't know, but it feels like sorcery to me.
The modern like Rumble is kind of getting scary how realistic it's getting.
I thought it was a gimmick again. I was like, this is just cool. Rumble's better. And then I played. I'm like, this isn't Rumble. This is like tricking the tactile feedback on my hands. It's weird.
So this one's incredibly stupid, but it's like one of the coolest experiences I've had gaming in a while. I actually got a Tetris Effect on PS5, like dark room, like headphones in.
Tetris Effect.
It's one of the most like surreal experiences you'll ever like. It's basically you play Tetris, but the backgrounds and like music is like it's like a visual like experience, and you can play it in VR too.
Oh yeah, here's Tetris Effect on PS5, 4K 60 FPS. I see. In VR, I could see this also being, yeah.
Oh, it's like nuts because like when you turn the block, it like changes the tone, the pitch of the music, so it kind of like as you're playing, the whole music kind of goes around and the backgrounds go in like form. It's like it's a visual like pleasure. It's like amazing. And when you're like a hardcore Tetris fan like I am, it's like I think it takes like 4 hours to finish or something like that. It's a cool. It's cool. It's a cool little like. Cool. It's on PC now too, actually.
Ooh, even better. Even better. All right, so let me double. I got to remember. So it's what was the Inuyasha? What was the other anime you told me to see?
Yu Yu Hakusho. That was up there.
That's the guy bartender one.
No, that was Death Parade.
Death Parade.
Death Parade.
Yep.
Yes, Death Parade. Okay, got to remember that. Bookmarked it. Inuyasha. All right. Then there was one other thing I think you guys were recommending to try. It was like in the middle of our conversation. Do you remember? It doesn't matter. I'll remember when I edit it.
Or a video game.
Oh no, I recommended you guys play Spiritfarer.
Yes,
That's what it was. That's what it was. Okay. Yes, sweet. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Check it out. Gaming and Collecting. What's the tagline again? The games we loved or something?
Gaming and Collecting Podcast, looking back at the games that shaped us.
Gaming and Collecting Podcast, looking back at the games that shaped us. Hell yeah! William Barber, Alex Barber, brother and sister, not boyfriend and girlfriend.
Nope.
Yeah.
Badass.
That's weird.
Badass collection. Anime collectibles, anime cosplay, geek culture. If you want to know about the 3DO, they're one of the only people I know that have gone in depth on the 3DO, maybe other than Retronauts. So that's your place. You guys are the shit. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.